On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're in Atlanta, Georgia, exploring 4 very different homes, each with its own story to tell. First, we step inside a best-selling author's classic family home, brimming with collected treasures, secondhand finds, and a sunroom and office that fuel her creativity and storytelling. Next, we visit a timeless 1930s residence in historic Brookhaven, where an interior designer has preserved Southern charm while creating a space that balances elegance and everyday family life. Then we head to a leafy neighborhood bungalow reimagined by a design-minded couple who brought new soul to an old Craftsman with vintage pieces, bold wallpaper, and playful details. And finally, we tour a young family's vibrant home filled with custom touches, unique marketplace finds, and a backyard oasis that sealed the deal. Enjoy! Watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello, Homeworthy. I'm Mary Kay Andrews, and this is my home in Atlanta, Georgia. Y'all come on in.
This summer, spend the hottest months of the year in style with Homeworthy as we visit the most extraordinary homes around the world. From the sun-soaked shores of the Hamptons to the classic beachfronts of Nantucket to the vibrant courtyards of Morocco, be sure to subscribe to Homeworthy's summer series to make every day feel like a vacation. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Mary Kay Andrews, and I am a novelist, but also a decorator in denial. And welcome to my home in Avondale Estates, Georgia. You know, I had a 14-year career as a newspaper reporter, and the last 10 years I was a feature writer at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And newspapers had changed, and I had 2 young kids at home, and I was trying to figure a way to tunnel out of newspapers so I could be home when my kids got home from school. And so I started writing a novel in secret, and I started submitting it and went to a writer's workshop and got input from, you know, best-selling New York Times bestseller mystery writer Sue Grafton, who told me to keep going. And I sold my first book in 1991. It was called Every Crooked Nanny, came out in 1992. So I quit newspapers in 1991. And I've been doing this ever since. I think I'm up to 32 novels and a cookbook now. I love having done it. It's creative. I think I'm inherently a really creative person. I need to be creating something, and if I haven't written for a while, I tell people I'm constipated with book. So the ideas come from everywhere, and eventually I know that I'm going to sit down and start spinning a story. This is actually our 3rd house in this little town of Avondale Estates. We were living in a house a few blocks away, and we were thinking about doing a big remodel and adding an office for me. And this house was owned by a friend, and we heard it was going on the market, and so I called her and said, can we come over and look at it? And we put in an offer and got it. We've been here 12 or 13 years. My husband and I are now empty nesters, although our grandchildren live around the corner. Most people our age downsized, we upsized. This house sits on over an acre, and my husband, since retirement, has really gotten into gardening. And it's just a really comfortable house for family. We have Sunday dinner here, and it's a place where our family and friends gather. We are very casual with entertaining. We call people and they come over. Very impromptu, but there's something about this house that has an old soul, and I'm an old soul, so it really spoke to us. This is the foyer, if we're being fancy, the foyer if we're being Southern. And you know, when I think of my house, I think of a story. And this, when you open up the door, this is what you see. And I want this to be the beginning of my story, the story of our home. So I decorate this black table according to the season. So right now it's summer, and I have a big hoard of seashells because I'm a Florida girl and I love shells. And of course I love blue and white. So we kind of zhuzh it up. Think of it theatrically. I'm setting the stage for the story of our house. I am a big estate sales shopper, and so I'm always out looking and hunting. I have never been to an old lady estate sale where they didn't have a jar of seashells down in the basement. So that's where a lot of these shells came from. And the blue and white, same thing. Some things, because friends know I love blue and white, people have gifted me pieces. This silver tray is one of my most favorite recent finds. I was at an estate sale. It was the last day. There wasn't much left. But this tray was there, and it's engraved with my maiden name initial, which is H, and I got it for $5. So I had to spotlight that. I was at an estate sale, and I had seen ahead of time pictures of this pair of beautiful chinoiserie chests. And so I knew the dealer that was running the sale, and I called her and I said, "What are they?" And she told me a price, and I said, "Oh no, I can't do that. I can't do that." And then, but later that day, I got news that I had sold a book or something, and I thought, I think Jesus wants me to have these chests. So I went over and I bargained with her a little bit, and I got the chests, and I knew I needed a pair of matching chests for this entryway, and they're perfect. And I just found the gilt mirrors on Facebook Marketplace. My interior designer enabler, Clay, called me and said, he had found the perfect pair, and they were at a flea market south of Atlanta. So we went down and picked them up. They're not an exact pair, but that makes me love them more because I love things that are imperfect. These checkered floors were one of the first things that I fell in love with when I saw this house. And I first came to this house. In our neighborhood, people tend to stay. They move from one house to the other. They call it the Avondale Hop. And I saw these floors in this house probably 30 years ago, and I just loved them. So they are original to the house. I am a sucker for old, beat-up Oriental rugs, and they're practical for us because we have 3 English setters and kids and grandkids running around, and you really cannot ruin a good Oriental rug. I think the longer you have it, the more beat up it is, the more beautiful it is, because I think it's like a woman. We show our age. I don't have a lot of family heirlooms. My people didn't have a lot of nice things. I come from a working class family. But when my great aunt died, this was in her house, and this was in her house. She was a smoker. It's an ashtray. And so my mother knew I'd always loved blue and white. And so my mom saved these for me. And so a lot of my blue and white collection kind of was inspired by these pieces. Let's move into the living room, which is sort of the heart of our home. In an earlier edition of this house, before we owned it, I think this was used as a great room. And there was a pool table here. No longer is there a pool table. But so it is a great room in the sense that this is what we have. We don't have a different room. 2 separate seating areas. These settees, I was with my friend Clay. As I said, he's my designer enabler. And they were a great deal. And he bought them, but he didn't know what he was going to do with them. But he looked at me and said, "I know exactly what you can do with them." So I've had them recovered. And we love to sit by the fire and have a glass of wine and sort of chill out for the evening. You can see the mantle. I change the mantle up all the time. Again, my blue and white pieces that I've collected over the years. The Staffordshire dog collection is sort of a recent fixation of mine. I bought the first one, this one in the middle, at an antique buying trip to England with a dealer friend, my friend Beth in Raleigh. And so I bought that one, and I hadn't bought any others. But then a dealer friend in Savannah was closing out her brother's storage units, and she had a box of these little guys, which she gifted me. And then this pair of Staffy dogs I got at another estate sale for an amazing price, and I was literally jumping up and down. I was so excited about them. The painting, My husband and I, for our anniversaries, lots of times we give each other art or furniture or antiques for our anniversary. And so that English landscape painting was an anniversary gift we gave each other several years ago. I've been back and forth about this. This paneling is original to the house. And you can see the beautiful sawtooth detailing in the crown molding. And it's pine, it's heart pine. And I just couldn't make myself paint it. And this room stays a little bit dark, and that's sort of why most of the upholstered pieces are light, to sort of brighten it up. But I don't know, it gives us such a warm, homey feeling. And the coffee table is the first antique I bought with money I made as a freelance writer. We were living in Savannah, and I was freelancing, and I sold a piece to a newspaper or a magazine or something, and I had this check. It was burning a hole in my pocket. And I went to an antique show, and this is an antique pine carpenter's chest. And so we've been carting it around ever since. I love old portraits. I've always loved old portraits because to me, they're a character. And I was at an estate sale, and somebody else had that painting in their hand. And I was so mad I hadn't seen it first. And so the guy came up to the cashier stand, and he was back and forth, and finally he said, you know, I can't afford to buy this painting. I'm a grad student and I just can't afford it. And I said, well, if you're not going to buy it, can I buy it? And he said, yes, but you need to know this is a really good 19th century painting. And he was an art history major, and he said, you should buy it. It was a great price. And so I make up stories about portraits, and that is my great, great, great aunt Honoria. And she looks kind of snotty, actually. She's very judgy. Great, great, great aunt Honoria is very judgy. And I surrounded her with these Imari plates I bought at a sale, an estate sale. Every single one of them is cracked or broken, and they're glued back together. Not very well, but I didn't care. I just thought that will be perfect to surround Honoria. I have a designer friend I met in Savannah many years ago, and she told me the things that make an interior work are oriental rugs, art that you care about, and fabrics that you love. And I've sort of kept that in mind over the years when we've, as we've been decorating our homes. So this is the other seating area in the living room, and we've recently kind of rejiggered this. These sofas are sofas they're on their second or third set of slip covers because we have dogs. And this settee I bought at an estate sale, and this is the second, I think, set of slip covers for it. And the fabric I bought online at a designer clearance sale. I bought the whole bolt. It's very expensive English imported chintz, and I had it in a closet for years and years and years. And when it came time to recover this settee, I hauled it out and I said, well, what about this? It doesn't really go, but I don't care, because if I like it, it goes. So that's the story behind it. And these chairs, we watch TV in this room, and my grandkids guilt-tripped us into finally getting a big screen, flat screen TV. We were the old people that had the little squatty TV, and they kept complaining about it, especially my grandson who likes to watch Braves games. So finally, we went ahead and got the flat screen TV. The same day we bought the flat screen TV, I needed something to go under it, and I had seen that English barley twist chest in a Facebook Marketplace ad. And so I was looking at it and I thought, okay, that's perfect. Well, it turns out it was in Charlotte and we're in Atlanta. But I was messaging back and forth with the dealer, and he said, if you come get it today, I will give it to you for half of the price that it was in the ad. And so my husband and I loaded up the Yukon and off we went to Charlotte. I like a big coffee table because I have big coffee table books. This was a farmhouse table that I found at an estate sale, and my husband cut it down. It was like a kitchen table, and my husband cut it down. It's old pine. It's beat up. It's got Hawaiian punch stains on it. That's fine. And these little chairs, I have a thing for little chairs, but my two younger grandsons, and all three of my grandsons love to play poker, and they like to play games. So they can sit at this table, and these chairs are actually really sturdy. Grown-ups can sit at them. These are like Sunday school pine chairs, so they really come in handy. The light fixture above me, I had seen something like it in a magazine story, and it was outrageously expensive. It was some custom piece, and it turned out there was a dealer at the monthly Scott Antique Market who had similar pieces. So Clay, my designer friend, and I went out there, told the owner of the business kind of what we were looking for. We showed him a picture of the inspiration one, and they built it for us, and then they made the sconces that are on either side of the fireplace to match. And it was really a fraction of what the cost would have been if I'd gotten the expensive designer piece. The bookcases were here. I didn't like the look of them, so my husband repainted them, and then we lined them with this fabulous marbleized wallpaper. And so the mix, it's family photos and more blue and white. I will never tell anybody how much blue and white I have. That's a state secret. Well, and a lot of a lot of the pieces I've collected, the ones that are up there, they're up there because they're cracked and they're badly glued together, or they're just, cheap import blue and white. But my theory is if you put the good with the less good and you put it up high, all the eye sees is that it's blue and white. I am not trained in art collecting. I buy what I like, and my husband says I keep buying the same painting over and over again, which means I like landscapes, and I like landscapes that have houses in them. So that's kind of been the theme for what I've collected, and I buy them at estate sales. I have bought art at yard sales. This painting I bought at a yard sale, and it was a divorce sale. And the man, the husband, was having the sale, and he was still angry at his ex. And he said, well, this is hers, and you can have it for $50. So when I tell you I threw money at him and ran like a thief. So let's leave the living room, where we eat about 5 nights a week, and go into the dining room, where we almost always have family dinner on Sundays. So this dining room has been the location for lots of fun, memory-filled dinner parties. I love to set a pretty table, and as you can tell, I collect things. And the background is blue and white. I should tell you that the walls, all the walls downstairs, are Faro and Ball light blue 22, cut by about 25%, and I kind of think of that color as a neutral. So this table, I bought this table. It's a repro. I bought it from a dealer out at Scott's Antique Market. It's new, it's beat up, there's watermarks on it, but it suits our family. It's set for 8 now. We can squeeze 10 in here, and we have done that. And so I'll tell you a little bit about the place settings. So I got married right out of college, and I didn't get sterling silver. But a few years ago, I decided to treat myself to sterling silver. And I thought, if you're going to go silver, go Baroque. So this is Francis First, a pattern that I had admired for a long time. And I bought it from a dealer, again, out at Scott's. And I love using it and putting it out. And most of these things on this table, again, are estate sale, yard sale, thrift store finds. So the chargers, these rattan chargers, were a gift from a friend. And I'll show you. My daughter-in-law was just gifted 10 place settings of Wedgwood Katani crane from a very dear family friend whose wife had passed away. And so the china was here, and I decided to borrow it. So the Katani crane Wedgwood is the dinner plate. These damask napkins, these are vintage, again from an estate sale. They are the prettiest, palest shade of Wedgwood blue, which I just love. And so on top of that, I have my Bordalo Pinero lettuce plates, which, believe it or not, I got at Tuesday Morning about 15 or 20 years ago. I didn't even know what they were called. I saw them, they were cheap, I bought them, and it turns out they're pretty collectible. So, and I use these all the time as salad plates or sandwich plates. And then these are a little blue and white transferware. This was a gift from my friend Jackie, who also gave me some of the dogs in the other room. And I have place settings for 10 or 15 of this stuff. And I like the way the blue contrasts. These are miniature Revere bowls, and I bought, I think, 6 of them at an estate sale. They'd never been opened, and it turned out they were a premium. You could cut out box tops and send them in to get these little berry bowls. And I only had like 6, and so then I think I went on eBay and bought some more of them. So that's what those are. These green glass goblets I got at an antique mall in Savannah, and I just love the color of them. And these etched glass, they have like caladium leaves. I got these at an estate sale. The silver candlesticks are a collection. I've been hoarding silver candlesticks for probably 30 years, and when we got ready to plan my son's wedding, my daughter-in-law to be said, well, I would love to use some silver candlesticks. And I said, as it turns out, I have a few. And I kept digging them out of every chest and cabinet in this house. And when I got them all out, I had 30 silver candlesticks. Now, they weren't all sterling. They were beat up and bent and broken and tarnished. And then my friend Jackie, I put out the call because I needed more, because more is more. And she gathered up probably another 40 silver candlesticks. So right before my son's wedding, which was only a week ago, everybody, family and friends, was frantically polishing these silver candlesticks. And so that's what these all are. And the shells, again, I keep them in a big plastic bin, and I bring them out for different occasions. The silver punch bowl, this was, dear friends gave a brunch for the out-of-town guests after my son's wedding. And my friend Susie is a very talented floral designer. And so she sent me, I said, I need to do that exact thing for my dining room tables. So she sent me a picture, and I kind of copied what she did. These are zinnias out of the garden. And Clay and I were setting this table, and he said, well, we need a lot of little tiny silver vases, and I didn't have very many. So what I did was I took the top off salt and pepper shakers and put water in them. So this is my new favorite hack. If you need little tiny silver vases, there's nothing worse than an uncomfortable dining room chair. And I searched for quite a while. This is maybe my 3rd set of dining room chairs that I've owned. I bought these from a dealer out at Scott's, and I had gone to an estate sale of a woman who'd been an antique dealer, and I found a bolt of this blue and white fabric. Luckily, there was just enough to do these 6 chairs, and then we did this iCat fabric, and then we did like a red velvet piping on them. And the host and hostess chairs really are as I bought them. There wasn't enough fabric to do them, so at some point I'll probably maybe get them covered up in something else, but for right now, I like the way they look. I was at Scott's with my antique buying posse, my closest neighborhood girlfriends, and we were in one of the dealer's booths, and my friend Susie looked up and saw these chandeliers. They're red toll faux bamboo, and she said, you have to have those. And I said, do I need 2? And she said, you absolutely need 2. I brought them home to our last house, and my husband had an absolute fit. because the house was only wired for one chandelier in the middle, and he was telling me the whole ceiling was going to fall down, and there was no way it was going to work. But we had a contractor. He was an older man named Bob, and Bob, it didn't matter what you asked him to do. He would look at it and say, "Yeah, I can do that. That ain't no problem." So Bob came in, and I said, "Bob, is there any way we can hang these two chandeliers?" And he said, "Yeah, that ain't no problem." So this is the second house the chandeliers have hung in. So this is my great wall of china, a place where I can display, if not all, a lot of my collection of blue and white transferware. Most of it is antique blue willow. Most of this is English. There may be a few American pieces mixed in, but most of them are English. And these big urns I bought at the Mount Dora flea market probably 10 or 15 years ago. And I love the scale of them. I was at an estate sale in Druid Hills, which is a very historic neighborhood in Atlanta. If you remember the movie Driving Miss Daisy, Driving Miss Daisy was set and filmed in Druid Hills. So I was at this big, beautiful old house, and there was a basket full of this gorgeous needlepoint Bargello. This is a Bargello pattern needlepoint. And it turned out the owner of the house, she was still living, but she was downsizing. She had been needlepointing this stuff for decades. She was going to make a rug out of it, but she never got around to it. So I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I bought it, and we ended up using it to edge these linen drapes. And I love it. It's so unique. Nobody else is ever going to have this same thing. I bought this antique secretary at the Metrolina Antique Show in Charlotte. And again, it was one of those things, I think I had done a freelance magazine piece, and I had a little check in my hot little hand, and I had to spend it on something. And so I saw this, and we backed the back of it with the same beautiful faux marbre wallpaper, which is just wrapped around foam core. And then old leather-bound books. I have a thing for old leather-bound books in general, and then just some more shelves. My home style is, I don't know, 1 part Mima and 3 parts blue and white, and it's eclectic and homey, I think, and cozy. There's nothing that we have teenager grandchildren and 3 dogs, and now we have 2 new grandsons who are 10 and 11 years old. So there's nothing that can get spoiled, and if it does get spoiled, you know, it's just stuff. I'm a huge estate sale fiend, yard sales, flea markets, and the occasional curb cruising find. The name of the house is Squirrel Hollow because, as I said, it sits on over an acre, and there are squirrels everywhere. And we have 3 English setters who drive us insane chasing squirrels around. So it seemed to fit. And you know, I'm just one of those people, I have to name things. So our first house in this neighborhood, it was kind of falling down, so I named it Withering Timbers. And this house, I don't know, Squirrel Hollow seemed to fit. This we use as a breakfast room now, but this was originally the dining room in this house. And the room we use as a dining room was originally a living room, just to make things a little bit confusing. So we use this room as a breakfast room. And the table, I think I bought this table from my friend who owned the house before. And then these chairs I bought off Craigslist for $15 a piece. And then I had them slip covered. And these armchairs I bought when we were living in Raleigh. I bought them at an estate sale, and they were yellow vinyl. So I had them recovered in this Ralph Lauren outdoor fabric, which is no longer made. And so I'm still mourning and wishing I had more of this Ralph Lauren fabric because I just love it so much. And then the chandelier I bought at a junk shop. I think I bought that in Savannah or Raleigh. We lived in Raleigh for 3 years. Those Delft, I guess they're Delft tiles. I'm not quite sure. You can see them hanging on the wall over here. They could be Chinese, they could be Delft. We don't really know, but they were blue and white, and the price was right. So they came home with me. So my antique dealer friend, Jackie, when she was cleaning out her late brother, he was an antique dealer for many decades in Savannah. She was cleaning out his storage units after he passed away, and she found this, and she knows that we have and love English setters. We have 3 English setters. And she said, I have something I think you might want. And it turns out, this is a painting on tin, and it would have hung in a pub, and it was distributed by a liquor distributor. And you can't, the lettering is very faded and faint now, but it has something about the name of the whiskey that, it would be like back in the day, instead of having a Budweiser sign, you would have this whiskey distillery sign. And so it's on tin, and my husband made a wood frame for it to stabilize it. And she originally intended for it to go to our son Andrew, because he was the first person to have an English setter. But I told her, no way, he's not getting this. So it's got pride of place right in here. So, because I have a serious hoarding issue for china and glassware, I needed more storage space in here. So we had a very talented cabinet maker make these cabinets to match an antique Welsh cupboard we have in the kitchen. And so this is the bar, and you can see I've got no fewer than, I think right now I have displayed no fewer than 3 silver martini shakers. Do we drink martinis? No, we do not. But if somebody comes up, if someone comes to our home and they want a martini, we have a great selection. I shouldn't open this and show you my hoard, but I will. That's some of my hoard of china and glassware. And then right over here is what my grandchildren call the secret fridge. So this is the fridge where sodas and beer and whatever else we don't have room for in the main fridge. But so now we just call this the secret fridge. Welcome to the kitchen. My husband and I both love to cook, and when we cook together, we bicker. So we needed a kitchen big enough for both of us to cook together. Originally, this was like a little den area when we bought the house 12 years ago. But we needed, and the couple that we bought it from were not really cooks. They were both young and had young babies and didn't cook a lot. So a year after we bought the house, finally we undertook a remodel. And so one thing we wanted to do with this kitchen was I wanted to make sure we had space for this antique Welsh cupboard. And this Welsh cupboard was the inspiration for the cabinetry that you saw in the breakfast room. And this was, we gave this to each other as an anniversary gift, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. So you can see I've got a place for more of my blue and white, and storage for serving pieces. And I love to display family snapshots there. And the tall lamps were a gift. These 3 platters, I know I have blue and white all over the house, but these are kind of sentimental for me because I was on an antique buying trip with my friend Beth. We were at a market, a countryside market in England, and it was cold and rainy. And I saw these, a dealer had a big stack of them, and Beth had already gone to get the car, and I was supposed to be meeting her. But I saw these, and the price the dealer made me, I could not get them. So I bought the whole stack of them and brought them home, and now they have a home here. And then the other piece that's a favorite in here, that huge meat platter up there, I think I bought that at the Portobello Road market in London, and it was so big. I thought, how am I going to get this home? But I couldn't not get it because it was so cheap. And my friend Beth's daughter, Rachel, who was a great packer, Rachel said, I will put this in your carry-on. So somehow Rachel put that in my carry-on bag and it made it home unchipped and unscathed. And so it has pride of place up there over the stove. And the corbels, Clay, my designer, Clay Snyder, had those. He was waiting for something to use them for. And as soon as we were planning this, that seemed right. You see the place where I have over there, I've got some, I collect ironstone. And so that's some of my ironstone. That was originally a window in another variation of the house. And so they turned it into a bookshelf. All of our cooking oils and vinegars and stuff. That caddy, a neighbor made out of recycled wood from, we have a little swim and tennis club in the neighborhood. And the little, they call it the dance hall. They were replacing the dance hall floor. And so my neighbor Dick salvaged some of that wood and he made that caddy for me. And then open storage for the dishes and for more of my collection of ironstone. And a big island was a must for us. So this is where we have breakfast, and this is where my grandkids come and sit and have snacks. And so I'm going to take you over here. This was the original galley kitchen. And you can see it's pretty narrow. And it was never going to be big enough for us. So we remodeled it, put most of the appliances over there, the big farmhouse sink. My husband has a huge garden, and so this is a great place to prep vegetables and stuff. And we are big bakers here. My granddaughter and my grandson and I love to bake together. So this is our sort of our baking center here. And these are blueberry muffins made with blueberries from our garden. And I have a collection of cake plates because, of course, I have a collection of cake plates, but they get used pretty often. And this cake plate, this one is special to me. 35 years ago, my late sister and I, it had snowed here in Atlanta, and we were walking in her neighborhood, which is just a few miles from here, and there was a house that had been abandoned. The people, I guess, had been evicted, and so there was a bunch of junk piled at the curb of this house. And we looked, and the snow was melting, and we saw this in the middle of this melted snow in an abandoned yard. And so my sister dared me to go get it. So I ran and I grabbed it, and it's a milk glass cake plate. And so because we were together when we found it, for years we swapped it back and forth. So she would keep it at Christmas and bake carrot cake, my mom's special carrot cake. And then at Easter, I make a lemon pound cake. And so we swapped it back and forth. And when she passed away, I inherited the ironstone cake plate came home. I do have a favorite space. It's the smallest space in the house, really. It's a sunroom that's off the kitchen. When we bought the house, it was an unair conditioned, unheated, sort of an indoor-outdoor space. And I thought, this would be perfect. It's a perfect place for me to write. I have this big office, and one of the reasons we bought this house was so that I could have an office. But I'm a Leo, and I like to write with the sun on me. And so I sit in the sunroom on the sofa and with my laptop or my black and white composition book, and I write in there. I think I like the feeling of enclosed. It's enclosed. It's not big, and there's no distraction. There's no anything else. It's just, me and the dogs and the squirrels. I think, I was one of those little kids that always played Barbie, and my sisters and I made our own Barbie houses, and we would decorate with shoe boxes with scraps of fabric that our mom gave us. And my husband and I got married quite young, 22, right out of college, lived in a little teeny apartment in Savannah, Georgia, and I bought whatever we needed. I bought at yard sales. My mom, who was selling real estate at the time, would give us pieces of furniture from clients who didn't need it anymore. And so I've never really been into having everything new and shiny. I like things that are old. I like things that have a past and have a story, and if I don't know the story, I just make it up. This had been added on 2 previous owners ago, but it wasn't conditioned. So they had like a little patio set of furniture out here. And as soon as I saw this room, I thought, oh, this would be a great little snug for me. We don't have a real den, but this is a snuggery, as the Brits call it. I had drapes made, and they are lined and interlined and insulated. So when it's really cold, I can close these drapes, and it cuts down on the cold or the heat. And this is the second set of red and white upholstery I've had on this sofa. It's my favorite place to sit and write, and or to sit and read. And my son, this is his favorite nap sofa. So this sofa I think I've had for 30 years, and it's been recovered, and the seats have been remade. And that's one thing I tell people is, if you love it, buy something good, and it will last for years and years and years. So I don't buy a lot of new furniture, but when I do buy something new, I want it to be good quality so it'll stand up. And I'll have to tell you a story about these pillows. I was at an estate sale, and these were draperies in this house. And I loved them because, again, they're bird dogs, they're setters. And so I bought this pair of panel drapes, and there was enough to make pillows, and then that French chair over there in the corner, there was enough to cover that too. That chair I bought at auction like 40 years ago. There was an auction house in our neighborhood, and I would go on Thursday nights, and I bought this chair. I think I paid $30 for it. And this is the second or third fabric that has covered it. Again, it's another Ralph Lauren fabric that I really love. And it's got a quilt on the back of it, because when I curl up on the sofa, I like to pull a quilt over me. And this chest I bought at a junk shop in Charlotte. And somehow my friend and I put it in my car and brought it home. And this is a battery. I'll step aside so you can see it. That's a glass battery jar. And I bought it on the last day of an estate sale. The dealer was tired and wanted to go home, and he sold it to me for like $1. So we lined it up with shells and stuck some hydrangeas from the yard in it. One of my dearest friends' daughters, Maggie, lives in the neighborhood. She's second generation. Her mom, Susie, is the one that inspired my centerpiece on the dining room table. Maggie started painting, and I said, well, can I buy a painting from you? And so I saw this and loved it, and I keep it out here. I've got to buy a frame for it. But I love the happy colors, and I love that it's the work of somebody that I love. I curl up here. I write my first draft, I write longhand in a black and white composition book. And then once I get built some momentum up, then I switch over to my laptop. And I have the sun coming in on me. I'm not a coffee drinker, but in the winter I drink hot tea, Earl Grey tea. And in the summer, it's my dirty little secret is Diet Coke. When I'm out here, I like to keep myself surrounded with books that I'm going to read or that inspire me. So these are some novels by 2 of my dearest novelist friends. We are in we have a Facebook group called Friends in Fiction, and there are 275,000 followers of Friends in Fiction. So Kristen Harmel, Patty Callahan Henry, and I can't find my copy of Christy Woodson Harvey's new book, Beach House Rules. So I like to keep, those books here. coffee table, interior design books that I can, if I get tired of writing or I'm trying to procrastinate, I'll pick up a coffee table book and leaf through it and then, clear my mind and then go back to the writing. The starting point for this powder room was this, I think it's Schumacher wallpaper with the bird dogs and pheasants. And then over the years, I had started collecting prints and paintings of bird dogs. And so they kind of all came together in here. And I keep buying more of these paintings and I'm running out of room. And I love a chandelier in a bathroom. And this one I bought, I think I bought it at a junk shop or something. And then the sconces I bought maybe at the Raleigh flea market, and then the mirror, I needed a narrow mirror in here. And so that's sort of the dog-centric powder room. So let's head upstairs, but before we do, I wanted to tell you about the stair runners. These are two different Oriental rug runners, and because I couldn't find one long enough, but I had been to the Ralph Lauren mansion in Manhattan, which is a fabulous place for inspiration. And they had a big room downstairs that was completely done in pieced together Oriental rugs, almost like a crazy quilt. And so that was sort of the inspiration for the two different kinds of rugs on the runner. This is our bedroom, and the whole color scheme, again, blue and white, was driven by this rug. The rug was a wedding gift from some very dear family friends almost 50 years ago, and they had it delivered to my house, and I thought, okay, I'm going to be blue and white for life. So that sort of set the tone. And this has been a dining room rug, it's been a living room rug. Currently, it's a bedroom rug. And the bed I found on, I think, Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. It was an Anthropologie bed, and I love the iron frame. We had a padded headboard added to it because we read in bed, and it was, it was iron and it was hard. So we had the padded headboard made, and the hangings. These were the drapes in our previous house, and once we moved into this house, the neighborhood asked us to be on the neighborhood Christmas tour homes, and I didn't have time to have new window treatments made for in here. So Clay and I, the night before the tour, we had an extra set of curtain panels from the old house. We cut them in half and stitched them in the most random way. I'm not really a seamstress, and we kind of rigged them up here, and they've been here for like 8 years. I am a big Facebook Marketplace shopper, and I put in keywords. I'll put in vintage, I'll put in antique, and then I'll put the area where I live, but I also will expand it because I found that console table in the living room on Facebook Marketplace, and it happened to be in Charlotte. And it happened to be a day when I could talk my husband into getting in the car and driving there. And sometimes, for instance, if you're shopping for an armoire, people don't know how to spell armoire. So put different spellings in, because lots of times, and people don't know. So what I call a secretary, somebody else might call a bookcase, or somebody else might call it a cabinet. So do different variations of the same word in your search. The side tables, actually we bought the side tables with the house. Our friend was moving to a smaller house and didn't need them, so they were perfect for us. It's hard to find, modern beds with the pillow top mattresses. Modern beds are higher, and so I needed night tables that were the right height and also big enough to put stacks of books. And so I've got this alabaster lamp and then swing arm lamps because we read in bed. And also it's perfect because most nights we have 3 dogs in here. 2 dogs on the bed, and then 1 dog on the chair in the corner. This armchair and ottoman, I bought it in an estate sale. It's virtually never not covered by an old quilt because this is where our dog Riley likes to sleep at night. So I put a quilt on it, and then today I uncovered it. This painting is really special to me. It was done by a dear neighbor who's since passed away. She had taught art history at Georgia Tech, and in the last years of her life, she really started painting more and painted landscapes. And she passed away, and her daughter, who lives out of town, asked another dear friend to clean out the house and just to dispense with the paintings. There were so many. And so we went over there, and I love this painting. Terry had a house on the Georgia coast, and I think this painting was inspired by the marshes. And so my husband, Tom, built a floating frame for it. And I love waking up in the morning and looking at it and thinking about Terry. This bedroom was, I think, added on in the most recent remodel. And I love the French doors that look out to the backyard and to our garden. I can look out there and see what the dogs are chasing. I can see what's in bloom that I'm going to pick later in the day. And I love waking up to the sunlight. So at some point, I'm going to get a real balcony built here instead of this silly little Juliet wrought iron travesty. But for right now, I love it. This is the global headquarters for Whodunit Inc. And Whodunit Inc. is the name of my business. I'm incorporated. And this room, more than any other room in the house, is a DIY room. My husband and I avoided divorce while we were making the window treatments. We made the cornice boards. He made these shelving units. He made the floating shelves where I have all my book jackets framed and displayed. And I have all my New York Times bestseller lists framed and displayed. And the reason I do that is not to be braggy, because nobody really sees it except me and my once a week assistant. The reason I have that is because when I am in the deepest, darkest despair, thinking I can't finish a book, I can't do it, I'm blocked, I don't know how to do this, and I get that way every time, I can look around and see all these framed book jackets and see all my New York Times bestseller lists and tell myself, you did it before and you're going to do it again. You know, when I was a kid, I was a dreamer. I was not the kid who was at the top of the class. I was not in the top 10% of my high school class. I was smart enough, but I wasn't really motivated to make great grades. I really just wanted to get out of school and become a newspaper reporter. That was always my dream. And so, and I had teachers who told me, well, you'll never do that. You're messy. You talk too much. I do talk too much, and I am messy. But it turns out that being messy and talking too much are very specific traits that can work to become a novelist. And so looking around at all of these book jackets and pictures, you know, of my career and the New York Times bestseller list, it's positive reinforcement and says, you did it, you're gonna do it again, keep going. And I believe in that. These desks, my husband put them together. These are Pottery Barn file cabinets. And we originally had Pottery Barn desktops, but they didn't work for the configuration we needed for this office. So these are very inexpensive Formica kitchen countertops that he measured and had cut for desktops, and they work great. And I love having a window to look out when I'm working. This portrait, you know, I told you I have a thing for portraits. That's Vera. I bought her at the Portobello Road Antique Market in London. And Vera's very judgy. I tend to like portraits of women who are judgy. And I have made up a whole story about her. This is a little snapshot of me at the beach when I was about 3, and a snapshot of my mom at the same beach when she was about 17 years old. So I love having that to look at. And then family pictures and notes from other writers telling me what I mean to them. And my granddaughter picked these flowers out of the garden for me. This table right here, I think it's either, I don't know if it's pine or oak. This came out of an estate sale, and it belonged to the family that had the Edwards Pie Company. I don't know if it was in their original bakery or what, but it was from Edwards Pie Company. And this is my broadcast center. I sit here, you can see my light and my mic. We do a weekly Wednesday show called Friends in Fiction Live. And the 4 of us, myself, Christy Woodson Harvey, Kristen Harmel, and Patty Callahan Henry, we interview other authors and talk about books and stories and libraries and bookstores. And so this is where I broadcast from. And I've got my backdrop is sort of a display of all my books. So Hissy Fit is a sentimental favorite of mine. We were living in North Carolina in Raleigh, and Hissy Fit had just come out. And I remember I was sitting on the front porch of our house in Raleigh, and my editor called and said, "Kathy, you made the New York Times bestseller list." And it was my first time. This was my, I think, 13th book. And I cried and carried on. I called my husband at work. Then I called my parents to tell them. And my dad answered the phone, and I said, "Daddy, I'm a New York Times bestseller." And he burst into tears. He was Irish and very sentimental, and he just burst into tears. And my mom got on the phone, and I said, "Mom, I'm a bestseller." And she said, "I knew it. I knew this book was going to be the one. I knew it. I knew it would happen." And, so we laughed and we cried. And then 2 weeks later, my mom dropped dead of a heart attack, very suddenly. But, the thing, it's a very dear memory to me, because if you can make your parents cry because they're happy and proud, what's better than that? And she dined out on that for 2 weeks. Everybody she saw on the street, if they said, "Sue, how are you?" she'd say, "I'm fine. My kid is a New York Times bestseller and yours isn't." Home to me is a place of family. It's a place of gathering. It's a place where stories are made and memories are made. And this house is the story of our lives.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Anna Wooten. Welcome to our home in Atlanta.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Anna Wooten Loggins, and I actually go by Anna Wooten, and I'm an interior designer here in Atlanta, and this is my home in historic Brookhaven. So Randall and I purchased this home in March of 2020, and we moved in April of 2020, which was kind of the height of the shutdown for COVID. I was actually pregnant with my youngest child at the time, and what a time to move. It was an interesting situation, but this house was built in the 1930s. I wanted a home with a lot of work. Randall was on board as well later. And we really had to rebuild the house from the inside out. And what I mean by that is we had to replace the HVAC systems, the plumbing, the electrical, the water heaters. The one thing we haven't touched are these original windows. They're double hung, floor to ceiling, original to the house on the front. And it's tough in the August months in Atlanta how warm it gets, but to me, the beauty of them, I can't bring myself to replace them quite yet. But yeah, we've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this home. It was an old one that just needed a lot of work. So I would drive by this home quite often. We lived not far from here, and I always just thought it had great curb appeal and great potential. The street is amazing. It's one of the wide streets over in historic Brookhaven, and I was drawn to it pretty immediately from the first time I saw it. and that was years before we even purchased the home. I think that the circle drive is so charming and inviting, and I think, you know, later today we'll talk a lot about how important that is to us, is like feeling welcome and feeling inviting, and that the neighbors can walk over or friends show up. I wanted something that we could put, you know, 25 years of work into and just keep making it our own, and this property really was the perfect spot. So here we are in the formal living room. This is kind of the first space off the foyer to the right when you walk in the home. And this is arguably one of my favorite spaces. And I started actually with the paint color of this room, which is not something that I normally do. A lot of times I'm starting with, you know, fabric or a piece of existing art or an existing rug, but in this space I didn't have anything to start with. So I decided Farrah and Ball light blue for the room, and it's an interesting color because it changes. So with the light, it can be light blue, sometimes it looks green, sometimes it can be kind of a moody gray. And I just decided this was kind of the starting point for this space. It really was kind of the catch-all package box room for quite a while when we moved in, because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with it. So over time, I've kind of collected these pieces, and it's truly a collection, because not one piece of furniture in this room was purchased at the same time as the other. So I have a habit of just buying things as I see them, as I love them, and maybe they don't have a home yet, but this is a room that kind of just shows it all come together as a collection over time. And I try to stress that to my clients as well, that you don't have to have the room completely done. Like, wait a little while, shop a little bit, see what you find, see what speaks to you. And I think that like having a little bit of a collected home is truly special. As you can see, there's definitely some antiques kind of filtered through this room. That's definitely one of my favorite things to shop for, are antiques, or just stumble across them, if you will. And I'm more drawn to kind of a neoclassical look when it comes to antiques, but I definitely do not discriminate on decade or era. I really think they all have something great to offer. And you'll see that with, you know, this is a reproduction chinoiserie top table, but has kind of a funky stripe detail, kind of more of a neoclassical antique here with this marble top table. And this is, you know, kind of a French piece that I recently found in Atlanta, and the carving I think is so beautiful and feminine. So I really think that you collect things that speak to you and that you love, and filling a home with pieces that mean something to you and that you want to be around every day is really important. This piece actually was my husband Randall's old desk in the old house, and I decided that it just needed a moment here for the more family photos and collected pieces. So thankfully he gives me most of the creative control in this house. He's in finance and I obviously am in design, so it works out well. So these beautiful built-ins were actually already here in the home. We just added this interesting kind of faux bois wallpaper by Noblesse here in the back. I just wanted a little texture, not necessarily pattern, to add a little bit of interest. And these amazingly large barnacle pots that I've just always thought were so interesting and neat. And it reminds me of, you know, growing up and going to the beach and being near the coast, and being in landlocked Atlanta here. I've got to kind of sprinkle things throughout the home that kind of remind me of that part of my life that I love and still get to visit. So this is one example of kind of bringing in those coastal elements without the room feeling coastal. This piece here, this is a Nick Malay photographer. It's called Grand Hands, and I touched on talking about my grandmothers kind of early on, and this is kind of a piece that reminds me of both of them. The hand itself really reminds me of my mom's mom, and then the painted fingernails and the kind of funky cocktail in color, it kind of reminds me of my dad's mom. And so this piece just spoke to me, and I know it's not for everyone, but this for some reason just has kind of a special meaning to me. And speaking of family, this wall is just kind of a collection of baby photos. This is actually my mom as a young girl, and my sister and I when we were a little bit younger, in a charcoal. And, I'll probably add to this over time. I think it's kind of fun to just start layering in the things that are special to you. Another example is just this antique scale that is maybe a little bit different, but we thought it was cool. We picked it up at an antique show and adds a little interest to a bookshelf. So this area here is actually kind of a walkway here to the playroom, but this was one of the first antiques I purchased maybe early on in my 30s, and it's a Biedermeier piece that kind of goes back to that neoclassical antique style that I was speaking of earlier. And it's really just kind of a layering moment for me. It's all these black and white family photos that I just love, and I'm kind of an overdoer when it comes to family photos, but these are the things that make me happy and that I want to see every day. So I layer them. Really, this room is kind of layered all over with family photos, and I never think you can have too many. Talking about just kind of collecting things over time, these I've had for a decade, and I picked these up at a local antique shop where I'm from in Wilson, North Carolina, and they're reproductions, obviously, but just I have things in this room that all have a meaning to me. They all have a story, and it's just kind of things that were collected over time. I think one other thing to note about each room in my house is I really love a stripe. If I could pick one motif for the rest of my life, it would be a stripe. And almost every room in my house is going to have some sort of stripe. In this particular room, it's actually on the coffee table, which is just kind of a fun detail. And again, like to me, this is kind of bringing in something a little bit edgier to a room full of kind of traditional, if you will. Going back to the eras thing, like to me, this is a very mid-century 60s, 70s chair vibe, but it's mixed with a French leg bench and a twisted leg desk, bleached oak desk. So I think that you can mix finishes in antiques. I think you can mix styles and eras, and it really kind of adds interest. My personal style is absolutely rooted in, tradition. I grew up around mostly English antiques in a very traditional home with grandparents that loved antiques, and my mother loves antiques, and I feel like the root of my style is certainly traditional, but most spaces that I do always have a little bit of an edge. And maybe that's just a chair here or a fabric here, but mixing some newer elements, edgier elements with the true traditional stuff, I feel like it's really kind of right up my alley as far as style goes. I think it's also fair to say that I think I get asked that question more often than you would think, and I never have a great 3-word answer for it. But I like to think that my interiors are somewhat timeless and classic. Time maybe will tell on all of that, but I think that's why rooting it in tradition is so important. And then, mixing in a pillow or a chair, and these are the small things that could change over time, whereas the main part of the room kind of stays timeless and classic. Now I'm gonna take you into our playroom / sunroom, which just happens to be off the most formal space in the house. But anyway, it kind of goes back to stage of life, like I was talking about earlier. And I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, and they love the playroom. It is definitely part of our life, and it's nice to have them here on the main floor. So we have transformers coming out of our ears in the baskets, and then my daughter loves to, create cards and drawings and stories, and she has a space in here to kind of be creative in that. And back to the stripe comment, obviously we really went big with the stripe here in this sofa. This is just a traditional English arm, rolled arm sofa that I actually purchased off my first boss, and we've recovered it, and it has kind of followed me throughout all of my homes, and it's just a great staple. It goes to show that if you have nice upholstery pieces, they're gonna last and stand the test of time if you can just recover them in a fabric that's current. So here in the playroom, it is attached and open to the formal living room. So we definitely wanted it to feel a little more buttoned up than a normal playroom because it's so visible, but at the same time, you want your children to come in here and enjoy it and build and be creative, and we think this is a great spot for them to do so. One just little tip, I guess, if you will, is I had a lot of open shelving, and that can get messy, pretty quickly. So I added a little cafe panel down here to really hide the mess, like the stuff you don't want to look at through the formal living room. And then again, just baskets are always such a key element for keeping things very organized, dinosaurs included. Another just fun kind of detail in this space is just adding a lampshade that's a little bit more unexpected. It's kind of a trend that's come back that I'm totally here for. And this is just kind of a seafoam linen, but it's just a little bit more interesting than a normal white lampshade. And it adds some interest, especially on a white lamp with a white side table. Again, my daughter just loves to create cards. We don't really buy any birthday cards anymore. She loves to make them here. And then we've just added a bulletin board here in this pretty fabric. This was all custom done for us. And they have a spot where they can put their drawings and be creative and photos of their friends. So it's definitely important for it to feel like a playroom for them. But again, just being a little bit more polished just due to its location. I feel like every room really needs a nice drape, and a good way to kind of keep costs down in a room, especially like a playroom, is to just do a solid linen here and then add a fun tape trim. You just kind of add the detail here, keep it simple as far as the main fabric goes, and it's just, again, kind of gives you a polished look and a layered look. So now we're gonna head to the other side of the house, on the other side of the foyer, to the formal dining room. So this is our dining room. Again, it's just right off the foyer, and we do use this room sometimes for dinner parties, sometimes just to kind of hold the food if we're having a cocktail party. But in all honesty, my children use the front door quite often, and during the week, sometimes this becomes the mudroom. So this dining table and the chandelier actually both came from a previous show house. So they instantly just found a home here because I had them. And I really kind of wanted to dress up the dining room a little bit. So I feel like this table could go a little casual, as could the chandelier. So I found these amazing French dining chairs here locally. I think this is kind of one of those things where when you just fall in love with something and maybe it's not perfect, but you just feel like you can make it work. That was kind of these chairs. I needed 8 chairs, and this was a set of 7. So as you can see, I have this sad single 7th chair here, which is great. And when I have 8, I just pull up another chair and we make it work. I didn't want to sacrifice the beautiful patina of the original leather and all of this just because it had one less chair. So again, the table is a little bit more of a casual piece, but layering it with the more formal pieces, I think, is what makes it more appropriate for a formal dining room. This piece here actually was one of my grandmother's pieces. It was her punch bowl, silver punch bowl, and I've recently stolen this from my mother for an event. And I'm not sure she's ever going to get it back, because you put anything in this vessel and it just is beautiful due to the vessel. So I think special touches and heirlooms like this really can make a room special. This room is not a huge room. It's a great size, but it's not a huge room. So I kind of wanted to focus on some larger scale pieces in here. For example, this large bleached buffet and very tall lamps, a really tall antique kind of scalloped mirror from Foxglove Antiques, but really just like everything on this wall, I wanted to have like kind of a grander scale to really help kind of ground the room. On this wall over here, this is a really special piece. This is my grandmother when she was about 4 years old. I feel just so fortunate to be able to have this in my home, and this beautiful portrait and this beautiful frame, and especially someone that's just been so influential in my life and my career. So I actually started the dining room with the wallpaper. We installed this Brunswick and Fee wallpaper right when we moved in. And it's such a classic. It's been around for a long time. It's definitely served us well. And it's definitely a neutral. It has like a small touch of the blue with the little birds and a touch of green. So we added the blue wool window treatments to kind of pull the color out of it a little bit. So over here on this wall, again, like this is a pretty big walkway from the front door to the kitchen. So it had to be pretty open. And this is a piece that I found forever ago, and there is nothing fine about it, but I think I picked it up at a thrift shop. But it is The tortoise on it to me is so special and it's really done right. I feel like tortoise can go one way or another, and this one to me just so interesting, and I think this is just one of those pieces that will follow me forever, and who knows where it will end up, but it'll always be in my homes. Again, just touching on the blue wool drape here, with just trying to add a little bit of color on a super neutral kind of wallpaper wall. And again, just a very elegant tape trim by Samuel & Sons that has this pretty beading on it that again just kind of dresses things up a little bit. This corner is kind of a dead corner, so I've always liked having plants. When in doubt, add a plant. And this is a pretty special planter, kind of hot off the boat from France, thanks to Huff Harrington, but I think it's just always a good way to fill a corner with something green. This is also Mabel's favorite room in the house. She loves to sit here by these windows. These are the windows I mentioned earlier that are original single pane windows, but the scale of them again is just so beautiful and hard and expensive to replicate, so they are staying as they are for now. So this is actually my grandmother's silver. This grandmother actually, it's his old Maryland engraved, and it actually has a G on it for my maiden last name, and they're again just special pieces to me. I love to bring them out, even if it's a casual dinner party, I'm pulling out the silver. And another just kind of high-low moment, I have to touch on these plates because I think they're so great, and they are actually a Gwyneth Paltrow for CB2 situation, and again, there's nothing really fine about them, but I've always loved them, and I think they go so well in the space. So, you know, mix your grandmother's silver with the CB2 china. So now we're gonna head to the powder room, which is just down the hall. This is our little powder room, and again, this is another kind of space where I just wanted to add some collected pieces of art. And they don't all make sense together, but in my mind, they're all things that I like, so they make sense together because of that. But again, just like kind of collecting pieces over time, this is another like moment where some of my like coastalness comes in, and I've got this great Schumacher kind of koi wallpaper that is very neutral, but just adds almost texture with its tone on tone, which is really pretty, and just a mixture of things that make me happy. I grew up playing piano, and my daughter just started playing piano, so this was just kind of an interesting piece of sheet music that I found at an antique shop. I grew up a Tar Heel, so this ram kind of represents that. And then just other things that are collected that feel interesting to me. One of the things we really loved about this home initially was that it was not an open concept, and you still had these, you know, traditional cozy living spaces that were separate from the more casual spaces. And I feel like it kind of created some intimate spaces for entertaining, but also creates a great flow for a larger scale party. We love to entertain. It's something that we learned growing up to just have an open door policy, and whether it's a dinner party with an invitation or it's friends and neighbors just popping in, we learned that you always have to be ready to entertain. And my grandmother used to always say, have a room in your home that is always ready to receive company. And that's kind of the room that we're in now. It's the formal living room, and we try to keep it as clean and as presentable as possible, so we have that space to welcome someone in when they show up. So I think that's one thing that I loved immediately about the home, was these kind of separated spaces, and the kitchen is on the far side of the house. The den where we entertain, you know, kids and family is kind of on the back of the house, and then you have the dining and the living room right off the foyer. Sometimes we're using one or two of the rooms, and sometimes we're using the whole house, but the house really does lend itself well to all kinds of entertaining. So here we are kind of at the back of the house. This is the den, and this is really where we spend the most time as a family. So we went a little bit more fun in here, since it is kind of where we entertain the kids. This great Adeline kind of tulip fabric, and we you'll see in a minute the sofa, but we use this Sister Parish performance fabric on the ottoman and on the sofa. And it's been, you know, it was kind of a kind of a risk to do such a large pattern and such a crazy pattern on a sofa, but it was just the one room that we wanted to add a little bit more punch in, more color, more fun, and this space is it's really our family hangout. So this space was a little bit of a challenge. It actually, when we moved in, had a giant built-in here that kind of ate up part of the room. And it's a long room, but it's a narrow room. So we ended up taking the built-in out and we added the grass cloth, which to me just really warms up, especially a large space. So it's actually a sunken room, so you step down 2 steps to get here. So the ceilings are a great height, but we really had to play with the furniture layout to make sure there were enough walkways and the flow still worked. So it is a little bit segmented, which has really worked well for us. You know, there's like a vignette over here that might not get used as much, but when we entertain and we are, you know, opening presents for a baby shower or bridal shower, there's really a spot for kind of everyone to perch for that, which I love. My home is also a little bit of a collection of things that somehow get left over from a project, and this coffee table is kind of one of those things, and it ended up working great. It is a solid concrete piece that's from a local showroom here called Bradley, and it is thousands of pounds, and it has really served more as like a dance floor for my children here. They love to get up here, sing to American Idol, all the things on the coffee table. Again, I kind of touched on the fabric over here on the ottoman, but this sofa we had made in this Performance Sister Parish fabric, and then kind of mixed in some more florals and fun, younger, happy fabrics in here. And again, always mixing in the antiques, whether it's a small or a big piece. I've got a really pretty kind of feminine French bleached piece here. And then as you'll see back here, I've got more of an English walnut piece. So I feel like you can mix antiques into any room, casual or formal. Okay, so kind of, you know, the back section of this room, this is kind of our game table. And we do puzzles here, we play mahjong, we have couples over to play spades. My children love to sit here on a Friday night and eat pizza and have a movie night. So this, it's a very small corner of our house, but it is used often. And I'll tell you a funny story actually. So when we were selling our old house, we had actually this exact table in our den. And adjacent to the den was the dining room, and adjacent to that was the breakfast room. And I remember someone coming through and they said, wow, she has a lot of dining tables. And it is so true. It's such an intimate gathering space. You can do so many things. You can connect with people here. And this is just one of our favorite little corners of our house. This is just a more traditional piece. This is actually the first antique I think I bought as a young adult, now that I'm thinking about it. 18th century walnut, and to me just can go in a bedroom, a hallway. It ended up here in the den, but it's moved around a lot, and it's one of my favorite pieces, and special because it was one of the first antiques I purchased on my own. Most of my others are hand-me-downs or things that I've found a little more recently. This is a Sally King piece. I love her graphic faces. I think they're very iconic in Atlanta as well. She used to live here, but this is just a piece that I've had for a while that I really love in this corner. I think something that I talked about earlier in this room was how it was kind of a narrow space and we needed the walkways. So instead of putting like a big hefty lamp on a side table that you would normally see, we ended up doing these kind of brass task lamps that can kind of tuck behind the sofa a little bit. So this is a piece by Vessela Baker, who shows at Anne Irwin. And she truly, I think, is my favorite artist. I have placed her in so many homes, and I have 2 pieces of hers in my house as well. But to me, it's such a marriage of, you know, a traditional floral oil print with an abstract. So one thing that I do also love about this room is the window treatment fabric, which this is a Marika Meyer print that is kind of iconic in our interiors. We laugh because we try to get a different colorway in most of our projects. It is just such a great small scale, adds a little interest but not too busy. And Marika actually custom colored this drape for me, this the little motif in this particular fabric for this room. And it's always just been kind of special to me. You really have to pick something you love when you have this many windows and this many drapes. So I do think one day this would be such a great kind of segue to a covered porch. We have some fun plans in the works for that, and I think this will end up being a set of French doors on either side of the fireplace and, you know, kind of make this an indoor, outdoor space eventually. I had two very creative grandmothers growing up, and one was a little bit more eclectic, you know, well-traveled, and the other one was kind of traditionally elegant. She was kind of more into the fashion side of things and collecting antiques. So I like to think that maybe my creativity comes from a combination of them. And when I first got to college, interior design was not even really at the top of my list. I started out in fashion and that went south very quickly. I think my first pair of jeans that I sewed together had a giant hole in them, and my professor thought maybe it wasn't the path for me, and that was okay. Anyway, I stayed in the College of Textiles and just ended up learning so much about fabrics and the properties of fabrics and how to use them and how they're made. And it really got my wheels turning on what I could do with that. So I moved to Atlanta, like I said, in 2010, started working in the design business for about 5 or 6 years, and then in 2016 started A. Wooten Interiors, and have just kind of had a slow and steady growth since 2016, and I've had amazing team members. I've had my sister by my side the whole time. My family has supported me the whole time, and we know we've really we've grown it into something that is a true career, and we have fun with it. So this is kind of a walk-through space that really just naturally felt like a good spot for a bar. So it segues into the kitchen, it's right off the den, and it's right here also off the formal living room and the foyer. So it just kind of became a centralized place for us to just create a self-serve bar. I think it kind of goes back to the entertaining thing and making people feel comfortable in your home, and even though you don't have some grand built-in bar, just creating kind of a central spot where someone can self-serve or come make a drink or a mocktail, whatever it may be. But I think kind of styling a table as a bar is one of the most fun things to do. I think you can really just mix in old, new, all the things, and really kind of make it special for your guest. Just as an example, I actually collect these old antique handkerchiefs, which sometimes are pocket squares, sometimes they're handkerchiefs, and I use them as cocktail napkins. So I just put them out. People know what they're for when they're right next to the bar, and every time I'm at a little antique store, I kind of look for them. Again, it felt like the natural spot for the bar, and maybe one day it will be a built-in bar, and that would be great. But really all you need is a table to create a bar. A table and maybe a tray. Pick up a silver tray at a local antique store and then just start filling it with all your favorite things. So this is actually just a great library table from Hickory Chair. We've layered a custom ottoman, again, a Sister Parish fabric that I've always loved here, that kind of plays back with the blue of the Caleb Mahoney. He's a great artist in Florida and shows here at Greg Irby. And I think, you know, this is probably the most abstract piece I have in my home, but it still brings me joy all these years later, and it helps kind of ground this space. You know, another kind of example of things that you can collect, obviously matches, which is not anything unique, but the vessels in which you show them in. These are just kind of more of my coastal touches here. These shell silver plates or bowls, whatever you would call them, just kind of serve as a really interesting vessel to put matches or lemons and limes. I recently did a little neighborhood meeting, and the meeting was about making the most of your yard. And this is kind of a prime example. I just walked around my yard with a set of clippers and found some fun branches and stick them in a vase. And, you know, they add a little bit of green, which every space needs a little bit of green. So welcome to the kitchen. This is definitely kind of a workhorse for us. Again, just with young children, we're in here a lot. We're cooking, we're entertaining, we're grilling right off this area. And is this my dream kitchen? No, but it has really served us well as it is now. And you know, the future may hold another beautiful kitchen, but for now, this is really, it's served us well and it's great. There's nothing wrong with a white neutral kitchen. I don't think they're ever gonna go out of style. I love kind of sitting here at the sink and being able to look out in the front yard and like the kids are out there swinging or scootering. So the setup is great, the windows are great, and it's really, it's served us well. We've added, you know, pretty Roman shade here and a nice soft fabric. Obviously adding some antiques in here with this Ushak runner. Again, back to the kind of fun printed lampshade just to add a little touch and a little detail. We added a lantern here, it used to be over our old breakfast table, but just kind of grounding the size and scale of this island with this single lantern here. So over here is kind of our breakfast room area, and this is my sister, Mary Riddick, hey. Stallworth. She also has a double name. We work together. She's our office manager slash bookkeeper slash glue. She kind of like holds us all together, to be honest. So really every day is better because of her, and I'm so lucky to have her in Atlanta. And I love having her here kind of in this breakfast area as we are kind of embarking on a fun new project, and we are writing a book together, which we hope to kind of make it all about connecting, you know, our memories and our recipes growing up with our mom with the interiors that we kind of work on every day. So that is kind of our slow start process.
Yes, we're so excited. We really want our readers and our clients to sort of be able to open their doors and easily entertain people that are, you know, friends and class parties and any kind of people that you may need to have in your house. We really want them to be able to open their doors with ease and style and be able to do that simply.
So one really easy way to kind of impress your guest is to find a really interesting board that you can create a spread. These are just things you can pull out of your refrigerator or your pantry, and when you put them all together on the right platter or board, it really comes together and looks special. This just happens to be a Lazy Susan, which is just so incredible, and I think I use this board and loan this board out more than all the time, more than any other thing that I have.
We think it's so important too. It doesn't have to be difficult. You know, all these things you can buy at the grocery store, you can always have on hand. We think, you know, growing up, it was always chicken salad and pimento cheese, ranch dip, always in our parents' refrigerator. And it's just so easy when you have a go-to item that you can just pull straight out of your refrigerator, no matter whether you're planning on an event or if someone's popping by. It's nice to have something that you can always count on to pull out. And in this case, we've got some good Southern staples, pimento cheese and chicken salad.
This is another example of just kind of pulling something out of your yard. This is just winter jasmine that quite honestly I thought was a weed for a while in the corner of my house, but it's really effective and kind of fun and funky. And then of course, love like adding a really pretty floral here. I like to do all my own florals for photo shoots and for installs. It's definitely a passion, and I think it kind of leads into the whole entertaining thing as well. Say you don't have beautiful, precious flowers in your house, like run to the yard with your clippers and grab something out of the yard to kind of create a special moment for your guest. I think in another life, I would likely own a flower shop that sells chicken salad and maybe some antiques on the side. So we're gonna head on upstairs to the primary suite. So here we are in the primary bedroom. This bedroom, actually, I kind of picked up from our Serenbe show house last year and put in this place. So we had the primary suite at the Serenbe show house last year. And so I kind of designed that with it coming home in mind. This bed, which I think is just such a classic, it goes back to that neoclassical look in this beautiful silk velvet by Nancy Corzine that I've always loved. And we really obviously dove deep in here with this chartreuse screen. This is a Carolina Irving fabric on the drapes here. This is just a print that I've always loved. It comes in a lot of colorways and I've used it in other projects, but the chartreuse was kind of speaking to me, and I kind of used these chocolate accent to go along with it. Really because the drapery feels, you know, heavy because there's so much of it, and a little bit darker. I really wanted everything else to kind of feel light and airy, and so the antiques I chose in this room are actually all bleached antiques. So they're gonna feel a little bit lighter, not in scale, but in color. One thing I love to do on a large bed would be to do custom Euroshams. I feel like a lot of the sheeting materials that come pre-made in a Eurosham kind of have a flappy flange, and when you do them custom, you actually can really get them nice and taut, and they always look nice. They look presentable. And you know, we have young children and a dog that sleeps in the bed, and so we have to be real careful with what we put on our bed. I love custom bedding and custom everything when it comes to a bed, but I really had to kind of pull back and restrain here just based on lifestyle. So we went with the custom bedding for our sheets and for our pretty pillowcases. You can see the monogram here and this embroidery and the chartreuse. And then just, again, something that holds its shape and easy to like throw on and off of the bed. So it's a very easy bed to make in the morning. My kids love to play battle with this lovely sewn Britain pillow. But again, just trying to make things easy and comfortable for when you're using a space as much as we use this one. So this is a beautiful French kind of bleached commode. I actually sourced this at a local shop, B.D. Jeffries, here in Atlanta. And I think Debbie there does such a great job of sourcing antiques in Europe. And she and I have kind of a similar taste in antiques. And this is a piece that I love due to scale, size, and just because of the fun details. So this is kind of my side of the bed over here. And one thing I also love to add in a primary bedroom is a spot to sit quietly and do a little work or write a thank you note, but just to have a perch of your own. So this desk really provides that space for me. I actually work here sometimes as well. And I think that's kind of a special thing to have in a primary bedroom. So this is a collection of Vicki Sides pieces. I met her years ago at Scott's Antique Market and really have kind of kept up with her through the years. And I commissioned her to do all of these pieces again for that Serenby show house. They were above the bathtub in the bathroom. But they found a home here. And I have a lot of her pieces kind of scattered throughout the house. She really has a moment in the upstairs hall, which you'll see. But I just think they're interesting. Again, like a botanical mixed with an abstract mixed with a letter. So just adds a little bit of interest on a blank wall. So this is the primary bathroom, which we actually just finished renovating. This is definitely my retreat in the house. I love this bathroom so much. And I think I thought about this bathroom since 2020 when we moved in. So it's extra special that, you know, we didn't do it right away. We thoughtfully did it, and I'm really, really happy with how it all turned out. I think kind of the shining star of it all is this gorgeous green Calcutta marble that we sourced through Renaissance here. And thanks to Alan at Renaissance, because he really had to talk me off of a few ledges here. But I'm so glad we landed where we landed. I really couldn't even bring myself to put a rug on this marble because I just love to look at it and all of its imperfections and all of its beauty. And we mixed it with this really pretty natural green and a brass hardware. We stuck with a natural finish in here, so this is all unlacquered brass. And when you do a natural finish like unlacquered brass, most every vendor is going to have a similar color. And what I mean by that is, you know, the faucets here are Waterworks, but the hardware is Ashley Norton, classic brass, Urban Electric, and this is Alno. So if you stick with a finish that is more consistent over all of the vendors, then you're gonna have a more curated look, in my opinion, versus having, you know, one vendor who provides all of the hardware and all of the towel bars and all of the faucets. So I love to kind of create that curated look by mixing different collections, but in the same finish. So the countertop is a play obviously on the floor as well when we honed it and added this really pretty OG edge detail here. I think it's soft but warm, and again, like a lot of people kind of shy away from marble in a bathroom or kitchen, but I say do the marble, do what you love, and just let it age, and it gets just as beautiful with age. Speaking of age, kind of back to the hardware finishes. So unlacquered brass is just a polished brass that has no finished coat on it. So it really is going to patina over time the more you use it. Some people love that, some people don't. I happen to love it, but the bathroom is too new to actually show the patina yet, but stay tuned, it will patina over time. This was just another fun antique find here that we covered in this green velvet and kind of played off the green of the Wheezy towels, which we did this custom embroidery color in store with them. Again, just love kind of curating something different. Like your hand towels don't have to match your bath towels. Just kind of creating something unique and something that's unique to you. It's those special little touches that, you know, again, make a house a home. We decided to not do any sheetrock in this room. If I was building a house today, the whole thing would likely be wood. I just think it adds such a warmth and such a texture to the wall. So this is just a 6-inch V-groove or tongue and groove that we kind of did the entire room in. And again, just keeping the paint color consistent. So all of the trim, all of the walls, all of the cabinets, and even the ceiling, everything is the same color in this room. And then you just play with sheens based on what your material is. Another fun unlacquered brass piece that we found, this was actually made to order in Morocco, which is just kind of fun and different. And again, just like adds to the collected look versus kind of going with everything that matches. So this is our laundry room. It's upstairs, which is great. It's right off all the bedrooms. And we had a lot of fun with materials in this room. So the black and white floor, it's marble, but it is so classic to me, and I definitely wanted it in some space in my home, and this just turned out to be the spot to have it. Also, another favorite material of mine is soapstone, and this is all soapstone, which to me is so great with the green veining, some white veining too, and really played off the fun cabinet color. This is called Spanish olive, and it's definitely a go-to green for me. I haven't always been a green person, but as of late, I am definitely a green person. We added a little softness here with the skirt. This is a fun block print through Ainsworth Noah, and again, kind of took the unlacquered brass finish in here to really play off the green and the black. I feel like sometimes a laundry room or a utility room can be overlooked or an easy spot to just, you know, close the door, paint the cabinets white, but I really wanted to have a little fun in here, and that might have been because of what it looked like when we moved in. It was kind of a sea of mismatched IKEA cabinets, and it was really sad to be in here, and I knew I just wanted to make it a happy and comfortable space because, as we all know, we do spend a lot of time in the laundry room. So down this hallway, we're actually going to step into my son Watson's room. So here we are in Watson's room. He's my 4.5-year-old, and we went with this kind of daybed, trundle bed setup due to the room size, and this kind of allowed him to have a great spot to play, pull out all of his trucks and dinosaurs and all of the things. So it just turned out to be a really good setup for the size of this room. I love the bird dog here, pillow fabric. This was kind of a favorite, and actually started with that when we did his room. And then these fun car prints. This is the Matchbox series by Leslie Mitchell. I think she's so great. She's a photographer, and we use her work in a lot of our projects. The paint color in here is called Early Morning, and it's one of my favorite kind of deep blues. I don't think it's overly boyish or overly girlish. I just think it's like such a good medium blue. So it's a great color for a kitchen island accent or a bar accent or a study. And in this case, we used it in Watson's room. So one thing I wanted to be really intentional about was that he could grow into this space. So even though he's young now, I really wanted a space that he could also live in, you know, as a middle schooler or teenager. So again, back to the stripe. This is a Schumacher stripe that I just have always loved. And this along with the bird dog, we kind of launched the room off of these two pieces. And to me, it's not too young, it's not too old. It's kind of like right there in the sweet spot that can grow with him over time. I think acrylic bookshelves are always a really great, inexpensive way to display a lot of your kids' books and things. You know, we did a stack of 5 here vertically on this wall. And as much as I wish that this was, you know, full of sweet, charming little boy books, my 4.5-year-old is very into who will win and everything being realistic. So, you know, tiger shark versus leopard seal and who eats who. That's just who he is, and we're embracing it. So as an interior designer, I think it's really our job to make a house a home. And I think a lot of that has to do with the stage of life that you're in. We have a lot of clients that are young with young children, and they have dogs and pets, and you know, they're focused on making their home beautiful, but also making it durable. So we bring in, you know, indoor-outdoor fabrics that look like interior fabrics. We really work with the client to make sure their home is livable and great for their stage of life. We also have clients that are, you know, becoming empty nesters, or they're retiring, and you know, they're not quite as worried about the white silk pillow or the pure linen sofa. So I really think that making a home livable for your stage of life is very important. And there's always time later to collect the finer things, if you will, if you're worried about them getting broken or smudged. So I think making a home comfortable, making a home somewhere where you can create memories with your family and create memories by inviting people in your door and entertaining. I think those are the small things that really kind of make your house a home.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Bird.
I'm Emerson.
Welcome to our historic renovation in Atlanta, Georgia.
Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Emily Lambert, but all my friends call me Bird. I own a small interiors firm here in Georgia called Bird's Eye Design. You are in my historic Craftsman in the east side of Atlanta. I have always worked in affordable housing by day and done interiors by night, and my day job asked me to move, and I had a very tight deadline. I had to be in office by the end of my maternity leave. We had come to Georgia, fell in love with Atlanta, but couldn't find a house. And then my realtor, who's amazing, had a pocket listing. She called me, she said, it's a neighborhood you're gonna love. It's very community oriented. It's a historic home, but it may need some work. We bought the house sight unseen with 3 days due diligence. I was 10 days from my due date. I could not fly, and I'm the home person. So my wife flew up on a Sunday morning, came back on a Sunday night, and it was a done deal. She fell in love with it. She thought it'd be a perfect fit for us. We knew we would have to do a little bit of work. We definitely didn't anticipate how intense the addition and renovation would end up being. We had a lot of the original trim work, the original Craftsman style, bungalow style architecture in the front. The original siding is still there. It's just now covered up. The inside was a little rough around the edges. The bathrooms ended up having to be completely gutted. It apparently smelled like cats and had some fleas. It was listed as a 3-2, but it was actually only one big bedroom that they said could be 3 bedrooms. But for the most part, you could see the original details underneath all of the current owners' artistic liberties and a little bit of funk. This house has been such a labor of love. It was such a long time coming. It's been a significant financial investment that we didn't expect to put so much money into. So it just feels so good to be here. Like, we have built it in a way where we can be here for a long time and it can evolve with us. And it's like we finally feel like we're starting to root and settle in. And that's a feeling that I don't know that my kids had before. We moved a lot and that we've had as a family. And so there's just something really special about that. Welcome to our front room. This is the first room you see off the foyer. This is my wife, Emerson. She's with me to talk about a lot of the knickknacks in this room. This room in particular has a lot of our pretty small items. A lot of heirlooms from her grandpa are up in this room.
So I first came and toured the house by myself. This looked entirely different than it does now. The walls were literally wonky. There was a mural, a DIY mural going on. Something really kind of pulled me in though, and I feel like we really sort of fell in love with it immediately.
Yeah, you did. I feel like it was the floors.
Yes, which have had a lot of work since then, especially since the initial contractor left the roof open and exposed to rain. Luckily, we were able to salvage, which really brings in, I think, a lot of the character of the home still.
Yeah, I feel like the front of the house, we really didn't want to touch a lot because it was all historic, and there's still some wonky walls. We call it Alice in Wonderland, like don't look right, they're slanted. They're structurally sound, so to kind of make that disappear, we chose a white paint color for all of the continuing living spaces. You'll see up at the top, the picture rail and the molding maybe isn't what I would have originally chosen, but parts of it were historic, parts of it weren't, and by painting it all white, it kind of feels seamless and blended in. This room is our favorite room for entertaining. I feel like you're the go-to cocktail person.
Yeah, we haven't really had a lot of experience entertaining yet. We've been here for a very brief period of time, which you'll see, I think, as we go through the rest of the house. There's a few things that are missing that still need to be added. But yeah, I think this is really like kind of where we have adults come and gather and drink and hang out.
She found this piano on Facebook Marketplace. We thought it was such a steal because it was listed for like
$200.
$200,
Yes.
but it was not.
It doesn't really work. It needs to be something with the keys on the back end of it, which is probably 4 times the cost of what we bought it for. So we'll get to that eventually, but I think long term we'll have the kids learn how to play right here. So.
I love it. It's so pretty.
Yeah,
it works
it's beautiful.
perfect for the room. So the layout of this room, we have the sofa, the 2 chairs. I tried to like vary a lot of height, vary a lot of texture, a lot of layers to make it feel warm and Craftsman. I never intended to buy a deep green sofa, but I kept seeing it and loving it, and was able to tie it in with these big comfy swivel chairs we have on this side that are a variety of pink and orange and green. These pillows I found at an antique store. I bought them for a different room, but they just worked perfectly in here. This is the only place I have custom drapery in our house. It's out of my budget in some rooms, but this fabric was just too good not to use in here. It pulls every color together and really, really warms up the space, so I love it for that. This painting is probably my favorite painting in the entire home. I like to use contemporary art. I have so many antiques and so many like vintage thrifty finds that I find that contemporary art kind of makes the room feel fresh. So I knew what I was looking for. This is a Cubs the Poet painting. I've wanted a piece of work from him for years. We both have. We've followed him. We've loved him. We talked about doing a commission, but we're never in the place to make the investment. And then like 2 weeks ago, we went to the beach. We went on a date night. My parents had the kids. We walk up from a walk on the beach, and there's an art market going on, but there's only one booth on that side. And I'm like, I love that painting. And Emerson says, that looks like Cubs. And the host at the restaurant was like, it's Cubs the Poet. You're right. He's here right now. And we felt like it was fate. We knew we needed a spot for that wall. And this painting is just quintessential Cubs, and it's poetry and in form, and we really, really love it. That's a picture from our wedding. I found it. We had disposable cameras on the table, and when I was unpacking, this just fell out. I didn't even know about it, so I thought it was perfect there. Over on the other side is where we have like a bunch of knickknacks. I think that's like all your grandpa's stuff, right? That's all from Jumbo?
Yeah, we've collected a lot of this stuff. My grandpa's a really interesting character and has some really cool pieces that he's given me over the years. I think these are toothpicks. They were really cool, and I've loved them forever, and I asked him for them a few years ago, and he parted with them. And so wherever we go, they're always on display. This piece is actually really cool too. Again, my grandpa gave us a bunch of really old records, and as we were digging through the records, this painting, this little piece was at the bottom of it, so we cleaned it up, and it just reminds me of him. It's really cool. It's a great spot right there for it. He also gifted us the alligator. We're from Louisiana. My son loves anything alligator. His name's Lyle, so we call him Lyle Crocodile. I don't know about some of this other stuff that Emily's kind of collected, but I think it all kind of fits in nicely here. We had a really hard time figuring out what we wanted to do with these 2 pieces. I think this was another Facebook Market find, and I think they look really well right here. So
This is an old rug. I've used it in like 3 houses. I've had it for way too long. It was a custom size to my first living room. I love getting a custom sized rug. You can use the rug tiles, but a natural fiber that comes really well priced. And I try and do a 1 foot, 2 feet off of to make a perfect border. This, once we put it in, just felt a little bland, and I have this, I think it's from Pier 1, cowhide, that's how old it is, and I just threw it on top to kind of freshen up the space a little bit, and I think it like cools it off with all of the warm old tones going on. Almost everything on here is some sort of vintage or antique find. This interior decorating book is from the 50s. I really love that, and these tiny, tiny taper candles are just the cutest thing. This flower arrangement, my friend just bought a house down the street, also from Louisiana, so I'm gonna have new neighbors, and she sent me that because I did all the paperwork signing for her.
You should call it the sage too.
Oh, the sage is so great. Our next door neighbor who really helped us during the construction process, since we were living afar. We love our neighborhood. It's a historic part of Atlanta, really from the late 1800s, but had a big post-war construction boom. So it's got a lot of craftsmen, a lot of history. It had the original streetcar line. Our neighbors are so community oriented, but this particular neighbor helped us a lot. And when she walked in our house, she brought this huge thing of sage and was like, we need to sage it. And I was like, all the good juju after the drama of the first contractors here. So we left the sage there, and it's so silly, but I love it. We also have this really complicated, you see in a lot of Craftsman, a bookshelf as a barrier with these columns. This one's a little funky. It was hard for me to decorate knowing that you'd see it from both sides. So I kind of decided that this would be the front and did all of the books facing this way. This is our only bookshelf in the house. So I had to put a lot of things away, but put some of my favorites out. When I was in college, I had to take 2 Englishes, and I'm very bad at writing. So my second English was Women in Stand-Up. This is my collection of female comedians' autobiographies that I have read over the years, and they make me giggle. These books are actually also from the 50s. It's like an Art 101 portfolio series with really beautiful paintings in it. I love that. I found those at a thrift store. I think like for the most part, it's just American classics and a bunch of little thrifted knickknacks and copper boxes.
My aunt passed away recently, and we bought this plant to kind of show up at the funeral home. She was a garden enthusiast, has taught me literally everything I know about gardening. And so anyways, they felt like they should send it back to us because I would take better care of it than wherever it was going. So it's found a place kind of front and center here, and yeah, we make sure it's healthy and happy, and kind of reminds me of my aunt.
Yeah. So this is the foyer hallway. It's the first spot you see in the home. In a traditional Craftsman, this is actually the center of the home. This beam is structural, so all the rooms on the right are bigger. That's going to be your living, your dining, your kitchen spaces. All the rooms on the left, separated by this hall, were your 2 bedrooms in the original home from the 1920s. We kept that as is, but I could not figure out what to do here. I wanted a hall tree so bad. I searched everywhere for one, and I just didn't want to spend a lot of money. We're trying to slow decorate, but this was a spot I needed something new. And then I follow this company, it's called Palm Beach Regency, and they're out of Florida. I saw this in the background of a video, and I was like, I cannot stop thinking about this crackled leather. It'll look so good in the front room. My rug is from Etsy, and it has that like pink, dark pink in it, as well as this really beautiful indigo. And so I wanted something that would tie it in, and I finally, it was still there like 2 months later, bought it. And I love it.
Was a splurge.
It was a splurge, but it's good. There's not a lot in this space. It's not a huge space, but we were able to kind of, have your key bowl and your throw bowl there, and then have your little shoe bench over on this side, which is anchored by the only art in the room, and probably one of our favorite pieces.
Yeah, so I think this was sort of like a finishing touch for us. One of our really good friends, he's in New York right now, his name's Johannes Oberman. He is a phenomenal photographer. I love absolutely everything he does. This one really spoke to me just because we're from New Orleans. If you know anything about New Orleans, Mardi Gras, street music, the bands, it's huge for us. So I think immediately when I saw this, I gravitated towards it. Emily had mentioned the blue would really go well in the space. So yeah, I mean, mean, this has found a perfect home for us right here and reminds me of New Orleans every time I walk into the door.
The bench is from Scott's Antique Market. It was such a steal. She was like, you can recover it if you want. This is just some vintage fabric I had. And I'm like, the fabric's perfect. It has all the colors I need. I love a geometric print. I know chevron kind of killed geometric prints for the millennials, but I love one, especially you'll see here I have a lot of iCats, but this one was vintage and really worked well. So when you open our front door, you have a direct line of sight into the bathroom, which is not something most people would want. This was actually a full bathroom before we renovated, the exact same footprint. So they had a corner shower here, a sink here, the toilet was here. Very, very tight space, not very practical. We wanted a restroom that our guests could use. And since it was such a tight space, I knew we would do something really fun. And since you could see it from the front door, I knew we would do something really colorful and bold. I planned to do a wall mural in here. I had everything picked out. The painters were painting the wall and the trim. And then we figured out that the person who was going to do it wasn't going to be able to fly, and it was really costly to get someone up here to do the work. And we were behind schedule. So I said, let's get a wallpaper mural. We're going to do it today. I sent my mom, I was in the office at work. I sent my mom to a paint store in our hometown, and she found this. It's Tebow. She found this wall mural in a book. We both fell absolutely in love with it. And then she picked the trim and ceiling color, which is in a high gloss. She color matched to the back of the wallpaper. I typically would do an accent. I really thought about doing like one of these dark browns or dark greens, but I think moms always know best, and she was absolutely right that using this frosted rose as the color from Benjamin Moore to really make the space feel pink works great. My favorite part of the space is the floor. This is from a company, Castelli Marble. This is their brown, I think it's Cafe Tenayo or something like that, with a limestone. I really wanted to do a checkered somewhere in the house, and probably a limestone checkered. The kitchen felt like too big of a space. The pattern is so historic and so charming. This really, because for budget reasons, to use a real marble floor, even with the limestone as half, was a little expensive. So getting to have a small space to put it in worked great for us. Everyone teases me about the placement of this mirror. It is a Dutch mirror. I got it from Cherish. It's, to me, it's everything. I love the antique glass. I love the original chain. I love that it could fall off any moment. But the reason the scale is so different is because of its size. When you're washing your hands, you want your mirror to frame your face. And so that's why it's at the height it's at. The sconces, however, should have been a little bit different, but once you punch into wallpaper once, I'm not going to have you punch into this beautiful wallpaper again. These were a relatively inexpensive sconce in a brass finish. They came with a tan shade that just, didn't fit the space. So I bought these Miss Alice chocolate shades with the chocolate velvet tape. I think they do perfectly in here. This tub was such a fun find. There's a local resale market here, Kudzu, and they have them in every color. But when I saw it and it was right next to this soap, I thought, those are my exact bathroom colors, and that's going to be the hand soap in here. And then really I haven't done a lot else in here. I'm scared to cover up the wallpaper. I love it so much. Against a pedestal sink, it's an antique look. Highly controversial. I really want a sink skirt in here. It's always been part of my plan. I want a fun print. Emerson and my mother think that it would take away from the wallpaper and be a bit of overkill, so I haven't done it yet, but I think that one day that'll pop up in the cards. It's so hard to describe my sense of style because I think I really design, for us, it's for us, for my clients, it's for my clients. I want it to work for your life, and I want it to work for a lifetime. But a lot of my design comes from the house itself. This house is a true Craftsman, a true bungalow. And so I really needed to add layers, colors, kind of deepen and darken everything to make it feel warm and cozy like a real Craftsman would have. I say that my design style is traditional but very approachable. I'm cozy even though it's Southern, but that's what Southern is. It's you can have a fancy antique but then still feel very welcome, very able to spill on something. I think that's true in this house and most houses I do. I can't help but love pinks and like deep mauve-y pinks. I didn't grow up thinking I'd be a pink girl, but I end up putting it in every house. And then of course, like green and blue, anything that resembles nature. So like terracottas, skies. I like natural stones. I like antique woods. I like woven finishes, kind of all those feel good, natural outdoor elements. If I can incorporate them inside, I will. We have 2 toddlers. I want someone to come in and immediately feel relaxed, but also say like, oh, it's beautiful in here. Okay, now I'm gonna take you into our dining room. This room flows right off the front formal living, or there's a doorway into that little hall. This table is sort of the anchor of the room. My mom had it in her house, and they were downsizing at the same time we were renovating, and my parents promised it to me, but then didn't downsize and kept their table. So I had Dobbs, it's an antique store in New Orleans, replicate the table exactly, because I had sort of designed around the space. So this is a pine that he antiqued and stained to match, to look like her French antique with an iron base from Dops as well. This bowl you got, what was that?
Yeah, Perino's. It's a garden store in New Orleans. I love it. They have a lot of really cool pots and things like that. Gift shop as well. It was an awesome piece, so had to have it.
It's just a beautiful porcelain bowl, and then we kind of used the colors from this to build out the tablescape. I've been trying to collect depression glass. I think like the almost see-through pink is so beautiful. You can see that in the rose bowls and in the highball cups. I thought this was so great. I have these highball cups, and at a totally different antique store, I found the matching shot glasses, which are on my bar cart on the other side of the room. I'll show you. I have our table set right now. The base plates are from Anthropology with the depression glass on top. I love everything to be whimsical and fun and colorful. There's ants that cross this place, not literally in the pattern. And so I kind of kept that bug theme going with a variety of bees on this marble napkin ring or the colorful butterflies on the other napkin ring. I just thought this was a space that could be fun and still feel sophisticated and elevated, but a little more of a garden party than something a little stuffier. This light is actually, my sister gave it to me because she wasn't using it in her house. She has kids, and so what was supposed to be her pretty breakfast nook is now the kids' breakfast nook, and I got the light from it. It's a gilded iron. All of my lights are from a wholesale store in Mandeville, and you will see them playing off each other. It's really important when you think about the line of sight of your light fixtures that you're breaking them up with a variety of textures and that they're all not, it's so tempting to get like the same line matching gold, 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 gold. I did use gilded iron in both these rooms, but I made sure to do a huge drum shade with the only other light that you can see from here. That's really the only light in this space except for our little crooked picture light that highlights, I don't know, is it your favorite painting? It's one of the best paintings in the house, definitely a showstopper.
Yeah, so this is a piece from one of our friends from New Orleans. His name's Johnston Burkhart. He's definitely a little bit more modern, which isn't typically our style, but I think especially transitioning from that front room into the dining, I was kind of personally worried it was starting to feel a little bit mama. So I think this really kind of makes it cool again and incorporates some of that modern element to it as well. It just really pops out. I think it's really awesome. I'm obsessed with it. And then found a really cool plant to kind of make things pop over here too. I think this corner we had some trouble with. The plant looks awesome there, and you'll see plants throughout the house. I definitely have more of a green thumb, I would say, minus these orchids right here, which I cannot get to stay alive for the life of me. So those get replaced every couple months, I would say.
Yeah, but all the other plants, and we have plants everywhere in our yard and our landscape design. Yeah. Emerson did, I mean, with the help of your dad, Juju, from the plant up front. You've gotten a lot of family help. Yeah. These chairs are were only $50 for the pair of them. I found them at an antique store, May Antiques in Mandeville, and then I had the fabric recovered with just like this plain creamy fabric. My last house had a lot more white. It was much more airy of a home. This piece I love. It's sort of got a tortoise on it. It's from Merchant House in New Orleans, another resale place that you can find some really great finds. These are the little depression glass shot glasses I was telling you about, which match from 2 totally different stores, but I guess that's depression glass for you. Match exactly, and I love them so much. This whole area, if you come over this way, really have a big French antique from Dobbs with the Louis Philippe mirror on top. And so I kind of needed to make it a little more casual, but still fun and whimsical, just maybe a little less formal. So instead of doing any like crystal or silver here, I have this servingware from my matching plates, and you can see the ants and the bugs crawling across it. The champagne that our realtor got us when we closed on our house with the little tie. These are pretty significant. These were Emerson's grandparents' toasting flutes at their wedding, and I think they're so beautiful. My cocktail napkins are from the Pride line, and it's just love is love is love, and then love, hope, and peace. And so I love those because they're in a little rainbow script. This whole area was supposed to be the bar cart, and then over here we have, I guess it's like the rest of it, the music, the entertainment cart. These curtains are a smoked mauve. I think they worked well with the like little bits of pink in the front and the little bits of pink in here without being too childish or like Pepto baby doll pink. So they kind of keep it warm and while holding that color. And then this rug is a square rug. I love to use a big square rug under a circular table. This rug is from Etsy. It's just a plain Turkish rug in a really neutral shade, just a variety of deep colors instead of a muted cream version. But yeah, pretty plain. I tried to square out with the room the 1.5 feet on every side and make the square directly under the round table. And then over here, the rest of the stuff I was telling you about, these prints are some of my favorite. They're from the girl's Instagram is Blakely Made. I think her name's Blakely Little out of Charleston. I think this is her sun and moon line, but it's a sunrise and a sunset, and those are my two happy spots. We spend a lot of time on the water. We're always on the boat. I say like my piece is on the horizon. We actually got engaged at sunrise, so I love these. They feel very like at home to me, really beautiful. Of course, we have our record player with vintage records from my dad and from Emerson's grandpa. I'm pretty sure this is, we have a Beatles record on all the time. I grew up listening to the Beatles. This is Revolver, just a classic, and that's one of their more upbeat, fun albums. This is probably one of the favorite bowls in the house. We have a lot of antique matches in here. Emerson collects antique matches from restaurants we go to, except for I did buy some Side Hall Nola, which is like an estate resale. She does incredible finds, but she found this huge tub of matches and sectioned them off and had bids, and it's without question the hottest auction bidding war I've ever been in. And it was just to get some antique matches because I really wanted the Tulane Green Wave ones. I went to Tulane and I got them. I won, and it was very exciting. And so I keep those there in this little patinaed silver bowl. This is our formal flatware. I found it at an antique store here in Atlanta, Antiques and Beyond, and I posted about it when I found it, and someone messaged me that her aunt had these growing up and that she had gotten them in Vietnam, and so I assume that's where they're from, but I have to do some more research on them. But they're so beautiful with the brass and the brown enamel. I really love them. The kitchen is my favorite room, and I think we'll spend a lot of time talking about it because it's wildly different than what I expected. But I think if you looked at before and afters, the one that would shock you the most is our bathroom. We kept the original floor plan. We tried to keep everything for cost reasons, the original floor plan and the original structure, and it's tiny, but it's a primary, so we had to make it feel really elevated in a small space, and it has no natural light. And so I kind of ran with that, and I doubted myself a lot along the way because we went bold in there.
Okay, now we're transitioning from the dining room to the kitchen.
The dining room's right off the kitchen. We had a big debate over the layout of this kitchen.
Yeah.
The original, so everything, the placement of the appliances and plumbing in here was part of the original piece of the home. The old kitchen stopped at the end of this double window, so we doubled it in size. This was a peninsula that overlooked into the dining room. I wanted to totally demo it and have two French doors so it could be in and out and flow from the part, like the whole house. Emerson wanted a closed concept kitchen. I think in general in the design world, everyone's moving to less open spaces, less the big room and more having functional spaces. And so I can see your point, but I thought French doors were the compromise, but
I think in terms of cooking, since I'm the one that typically cooks, the flow and feel of this is a lot more practical for what I'm doing on a daily basis, especially trying to get dinner ready for, a family with 2 young kids, being able to grab things, and the flow of this is much better for me. And also I think it helps to sort of like break up the space from the front to the back. I grew up in a more closed concept house, and I love the fact that I could be in the front when I was a little bit older watching TV with my friends, and my parents weren't breathing down my neck or anything. So I think it kind of breaks the space up, and we you'll see eventually move into a more kid safe area in the back where things can kind of be jumped on and, spilled on. It doesn't really matter.
So Emerson really wanted a Mexican tile in the kitchen. We looked into doing it. We looked into terracotta. Something about brick just feels very like Southern home, like
homey,
where you grew up, indoor, outdoor. Apparently not that many people do it in Georgia because we could not find it for a decent price. So we drove it up from Louisiana. This brick is reclaimed old Chicago, tumbled. It's laid in a basket weave, and all of the living spaces just carried straight through from the kitchen back, and then cut on its side and laid in a herringbone for the laundry room and kids' bathroom. I love the look of the herringbone, but it felt a little busy, a little overwhelming for a space like this. So per Emerson, we went more traditional and did a basket weave in here with a combo of 2 different ivory grouts. And I think it works really nice. We're still debating. I really want a big rug in the center of our island because I think it's a lot of brick, but she wants runners down the side. I don't know.
Yeah, we've got a lot of time to make decisions now that we're officially in. I think we can sort of feel it out and see what speaks to us. But one thing is for sure, it does hurt when you fall. So the toddlers have taken a few tumbles, and I think more padding with rugs and whatnot, the better for us, I think. So
sort of interesting design piece that Emerson wanted was to have no paneled appliances. For budget reasons, that was great because we couldn't afford them. But I think like when you think of home, you think of your kitchen, it's got magnets, it's got kids' pictures, and it's got stuff showing, and it's not so staged. So we didn't do any paneled appliances in here, and I didn't do a farmhouse or an apron sink. We do not keep up with our dishes. So I got this like big old, you can throw everything in it and hide workhouse of a sink. I was so sick of being splashed and of the top of my cabinets, paint fading off. So this sink is like very inexpensive, but very functional. And we love it. And like I said, this was the original window. We just duplicated it. I had to have this plate rack. My mom had one in her house, and I thought it was purely aesthetic. I thought it was beautiful, but it turned out to be the most functional part because you don't have to open a drawer or open a cabinet for dinner or for unloading and loading dishes. Those are the actual plates we use. So it's really nice to just have them out when you need them. I did not want to do upper cabinets. I wanted to have this very pretty marble shelf like straight across. But Emerson is the cook, and she said that she wanted to be able to grab her mixing bowls, her oils, her spices. And so that's how we landed on the upper cabinets. I think to break that up, I didn't do a traditional backsplash. I just kept the vertical shiplap. Even though this whole kitchen is new and the rest of the house this way is an add-on, I really wanted it to feel old, and so I tried to incorporate true historic base elements and then layer on top. So I wanted the shiplap to stay its own color, separate from the green, and then look like it had some nice new cabinetry just thrown on top of it. And that's true in all of the open shelves around the house. I also did the trim color, the white on top of the shiplap instead of the green, because I like when your crown matches whatever is underneath it. I just think like in dance, you never want to cut your line. So if you're wearing black pants, you're wearing black shoes. I feel like it's like that. You want your line of sight to go endlessly, and that kind of helps with that. If we scoot this way, this is actually my favorite part of the kitchen. It's my light fixture, my sconce. It's, I think it's visual comfort, but it came with a cream shade, and to dress it up, to make the kitchen more fun, I went with the Magnolia Pookie lighting shade and rigged it up with some lamps parts attachments. But I think
DIY.
I think it makes the kitchen feel a lot more personal and a lot more at home, and it really works with both sides here. I think like if you look this way, we have a lot of cabinetry. This is our primary storage space.
The green really makes it feel more homey, especially to your point with having, you know, the appliances silver, and you know, I feel like this is more of like a Nancy Meyer's kitchen.
Yeah, you wanted a casual feel.
Yeah,
you didn't
yeah,
want
it feels
a
like you
stuffy
cook in
kitchen.
here,
Yeah,
and
which
you know,
do.
right, exactly right. So we ended up going with the Cheyenne green. I think there were a few other greens that we were kind of debating, but this one really kind of popped out. I think this house is hard, and Atlanta's hard because it's very sort of foresty.
Yeah.
So we don't get a ton of natural light in here, but I do think the light that we do have in here makes the green pop just the right amount. So
yeah, you had to bring it in person. I tell everyone you have to sample. We sample on poster boards and hang it on every single wall in a room to see the light in different places. Light makes such a difference to your paint color. This is my favorite part of the whole kitchen. It's my coffee nook. I'm not the cook, so pretty much everything else is
or
designed.
the coffee maker.
Yeah, that's true. Everything else is designed for Emerson, like to work, to spread out. She's a messy cook, to chop and to really get into it. But this area is all the cute stuff. It's the drink corner. This is all of our barware, our teas, our coffees, and this is like junk drawer and stationery. Emerson makes my coffee every single morning. It's the most important thing in the world to me. I'm a coffee addict, and so I love this little area. This is all my coffee cups. They're from high school, sent me this. Emerson carried our first child, and when he was born, she sent me this from a vintage store in New York. It says, "Any man can be a father, but it takes someone special to be a daddy." It really makes me giggle every time I see it, and I never get to see her, so I really loved it.
And some other little funny pieces over here. You came home with this pig one afternoon from an antique store, which I didn't love initially. We had sort of like a larger one growing up as a child, and I always thought it was kind of odd, but I kind of like the size of the little one, and I like to Move It, Move It. That is our son Lyle's favorite song right now, so he got to choose what was written on the board there.
Well, that's why I got it. It reminded me of your parents' pig.
Yes.
Theirs is huge though. So
Yeah,
I went
exactly.
with a more modest version. And this, these teacups, and you'll see this pattern throughout the kitchen. This was actually from our wedding. This was my choice of servingware instead of a china, and it's now discontinued. And I wish I had bought more of it. It's all from Anthropologie. And this oil painting I love, but I've had it for years. It's been in every kitchen I've ever had. This kitchen has no wall to put it on. So I really didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I knew I wanted it here, and I kept like propping it up and it not working. And I said, finally, let's just stick it in front of the whole thing. And I think it works great. It's so fun and probably my favorite piece. And then I love a tray to throw all of your tchotchkes on. I'm organized, even though we have stuff everywhere. And so all my cleaning stuff sits on here. These are actually our dish pads, so I don't have to reach under the sink. This is another Johannes Obermann. It's like one of my favorite pictures. I would blow it up big if I could, but I didn't have anywhere else to put it. And then this is just the room key from our wedding. We stayed at the Dewberry in Charleston, and it's probably like one of the design inspirations of the entire kitchen. And really the Dewberry is design inspiration for every room of this house, even the sense of this house. It's one of my favorite places to visit. So I love that. It makes me happy every time I see it. Emerson and I met right after I had just graduated college. I was spending keeping the summer in New Orleans before we moved, and we never separated. I was about to move. I didn't think it was gonna be a long-term thing, but we just couldn't get enough of each other. We've been together 11 years, married for 6 of them. And yeah, it's been a ton of fun. We've moved like 12 times, so we've gotten really good at knowing each other's style and knowing how to make a place feel like home really quickly. It's different now that we have kids. We want them to feel really stable and settled. And so this place and this move was a really big one for us, leaving friends and family. But I think this house has been like what holds us and is meant to be our landing spot and our comfort and to ease the transition for them. And when we go in Lyle's room, we'll talk about it a lot, but I included him in all the design decisions, and we included him in all the conversations about the construction, and I think it really helped ease his transition. And then obviously Emerson's super mom, and she's gotten the yard and all the play spots great for him, and the kitchen and all their meals together great for both our kids. So it's been a lot of fun. So right off the kitchen, we'll step into our family room. This is like the big everything room. It's our playroom, our TV room, our den, the big hangout room. This is like, I mean, primarily where we are, where the kids are. Usually right after school, Emerson's cooking and I'm on the floor with them. I had all of these white slip-covered furniture. I've had them for like 10 years. I think that was a really big thing around 2015, the idea that you could just take it off and bleach it. But I did try and warm them up by adding a bunch of different textured pillows, some antique, some new, and this throw blanket. This coffee table was meant to be where kids could bump on it, spill on it, and it not hurt anyone, and we can do puzzles and kind of spread out on it. This is another Pookie lighting tap on, tap off lamp. I just think it gives a great ambiance to the space. We don't have a ton of natural light in here. My rug is a Turkish rug. It's from Renaissance in New Orleans. I wanted something that had like orange, brick, green, blue, all the colors to kind of build off of in the living room with all the other different colors in here. This little breakfast table was an add-on. I found that we weren't sitting at the bar in the kitchen as much as I thought we would. And we were like eating towards around this coffee table. And I really wanted something that we would actually sit and eat at. And so I got this little pedestal table from Facebook Marketplace. It's just a solid, sturdy wood for like $35. And it put a piece of glass on it, put a bunch of fun colors underneath the glass to keep it feeling fresh since there was so much other wood in the space. But we eat all of our meals there, usually not with my lemonware, but this is acrylic, so the kids do use cups like this without breaking them. These chairs are probably the cheapest thing in the whole house. I try not to buy big box, but I did because I was getting so desperate with us eating on the ground and wasn't finding anything on Facebook Marketplace. They came white, and within a day they had like a berry handprint, peanut butter smudged. And so when my aunt and my mom came to visit, I think I mentioned my mom's sisters can do literally anything. They helped me recover these, just popped it off and stapled a new fabric around it. And I think this fabric came out really nice. It blends everything so you don't see a lot of the spills, because believe me, there are some. This armoire is from, my parents got it for me. It's from Scott, Louisiana. It was shockingly inexpensive for what it is, and it's traveled with me many a times. It stores all of my kids', it's probably a mess in here, all of my kids' toys because we are in the floor playing in here all the time. So I custom built shelves in here and just stacked all their toys that they can come grab. Though Lyle's pulled this, my favorite little tassel, off a couple times trying to open it. My favorite part about this room is, well, I don't know if it's my favorite, but this light fixture I think is the perfect juxtaposition to the ceiling. It's just like really anchors the space. I did not want a black light fixture. Nancy from the lighting store I was telling you about, the wholesale store in Louisiana, convinced me to get it, and she was so right. This is the perfect scale for the space, shape for the space, and the black I think really makes it feel more like a den and less like a formal living, and kind of anchors it against the kitchen. You'll see in the background here I tied in that Pookie lighting shade again over a thrifted lamp. And then that painting behind it, it's a girl out of Lafayette, Louisiana. Her name's Alex Vitos. We were looking at her artwork for our daughter's room, and we actually have one of her paintings in there. And both Emerson and I almost simultaneously were like, did you see the How Lucky painting? We both really wanted it. There's a song that we always sing that says, how lucky are we? And that's how I feel every day with these cute kids. And so we got the painting as kind of that memento to that. My kids also show up in here outside of their toys and their mess. We have silhouettes done for them on either side of the TV. These are the two of the dog. It's Petite Paper Co. from Etsy. And then I had them framed in a more formal dark burl wood from Framebridge. And they look across to my two children, Lyle and Adair. This was a gift for our wedding. It's a fruit bowl, but I use it as our key bowl. So far, nobody's knocked it off. I'm waiting for that moment. I wish someone could have told me that I was gonna end up as an interior designer and I would have gone to design school. I should have. My dad owns an architecture firm. My sister is an interior designer. And then my family is absolutely absurd in their taste. My mom and her sisters, I mean, they could have been Martha Stewart. The way they can make a floral arrangement, a party perfect, a house perfect, it doesn't matter the budget or the theme. So I grew up around really great tastemakers, but I was very math oriented. So I went the finance route and then just kept finding myself designing spaces, making spaces for me, for my family, for my friends that felt really welcoming and at home, and like anybody could come in and, you know, show up, be yourself and have a drink. And I think like that feeling is why I love design and how I got into design, and just kind of caught the bug and continued on with it. And 15 years later, we've renovated 3 homes, and I've slowly taken on more and more clients, and I feel really lucky to do that. So right off our living room is the back porch. Like I said, this house is on the smaller side. We don't have a playroom. We are very indoor-outdoor people, so we kind of use this as an additional room to the house. It's our primary playroom. We eat here a lot if we're not at that little breakfast nook, and then we have a big loungewear on the other side. So all of this is just like fun, textured blue and green, very indoor-outdoor Southern living. I put this tap on, tap light off so that you don't need an outlet. And I have my mom's antique side table that we use as a serving board when we're out here. You can see all of the kids' toys, nothing special to look at, but primarily where we play, and they're all lined up. And then over on this far side is a built-in. I was gonna get, this is really fun, I was gonna get a custom built-in all the way around for sitting, and I found on Facebook Marketplace this that's under here. It was, you can almost see it, it was 6 inches off in dimension from what I would have had custom built, and it was under $200, except for I had to pay someone to move it because it was so 3 huge pieces, but such a steal of a find. We ended up painting it the same color as the siding, so it looks custom, it looks built in. And then I got these custom sunbrella cushions from Etsy. I think it like makes this feel like an additional living room and something you could like absolutely sink into. And we spend too much time out here, especially once the kids are asleep, if you want to come have a drink or hang out or entertain and watch the kids play without having to jump up too often. This table is an antique. It's from Antiques and Beyond. I didn't think it could go outside, and they said it could, and I just knew I had to have it. It's a little different in style than what I was expecting out here, but it works great. You can see outside we did the porch ceiling, the New Orleans blue. I can't remember, I think this one's called Sweet Bluette, but in New Orleans, everyone does the top of their porch a soft blue. And so we brought that up here to Georgia. We did traditional colors. We have a soft green on the siding and then an accent green on all of the windows and doors. The traditional 3-pane that mimics the historic wood windows that you see around our neighborhood with a cream trim. And then we added in these new lanterns and fans. We originally were going to do taper columns along the back to mimic the Craftsman architecture in the front, but doing the taper columns with the masonry at the bottom was going to be expensive, and we were trying to cut any costs we could after being in such financial distress from the first contractors. So we asked them what would happen if they did it straight, and they said for less than the cost of the columns, they could screen the whole thing in. And if you've ever been to Atlanta, you need a screen because there are a ton of mosquitoes. So now this is like really feels like a sunken living room and an extension of the home. Okay, so now we're in the primary bedroom. This was the only original bedroom in the house when we bought it. It had the original hardwoods. We really debated when we were adding on if we were going to add on a primary ensuite, but instead ended up adding on the 2 kids' rooms to the back with that family den and kind of moving the house to be more functional, where up front has our workspace, our lounge space, our room, and then the back where the dogs are and the kids are can be a little more play. And so we did their rooms back there and kept this for us. And selfishly, I wanted the hardwood floors, and I knew we didn't have in the budget to get antique hardwoods in the new rooms. So that's how we ended up using this as the primary. I had designed the room with the bed going in between the two windows, but after being in here, it felt better waking up and looking out of the windows instead of having them behind them. This bed is from my parents. They got it after their wedding. My dad is the 9th of 11 children. They had enough credit at the store from their wedding to buy a furniture set, and he said it was the first thing new he ever had. Both my parents worked really hard to be where they're at, and so I love this bed because that story reminds me of them. The colors in this room are kind of the story in and of itself. This on this side, my bedroom side, it's called Milkshake by Benjamin Moore. This is embarrassing. There was a news article that was like, "You'll look better naked," and 10 other reasons to paint your room this colored pink. And it sold me. And so I got this color, and then I kind of built the story as you move into our primary bathroom, where it gets deeper and deeper and darker and darker. I let this color speak for itself. You'll see some other accents, some darker raspberries, both in my curtains and in my antique velvet chairs, and then pops of blues. These dressers I did have lacquered in a sage green. That green comes straight out of the rug. The rug I've had for a very long time. It's a wool blend. I try and get 100% wool just because cotton's less great with water, but that wasn't in the budget at the time. And so this is a really fabulous wool blend rug. It has all the right colors in it. And I pulled this sage, which also feels muted, to keep with it. These lamps were from Amazon like 5 years ago. They were brown. They weren't very cute, and nobody liked them. And so I painted them with a terracotta paint just to try and freshen them up a little bit instead of having to buy new ones. Both the painting here and over on the other side over here are from Emerson's grandfather. He gave them to her, the naked lady portraits. He said that he thought she would like them, which we do. We love them, and we have them on either side of our bed, and they're really nice and really well framed and antique and special, so we keep them up. My curtains are not custom. I actually think they're from Pottery Barn, but I brought an extra panel and had custom pillows made to kind of carry the fabric throughout. This is another vintage find. This was a stately Nola. It is a true secretary desk. It has a green leather that pulls out. Yeah, so see, look how beautiful this green leather is. She used to work here. This was in our bedroom, and she had her monitor the way we have a TV in it now. I never wanted to have a TV in a bedroom, but now that we have kids and only one TV in the house, sometimes you need to be able to have it separate. And this is just a collection of cute family photos. This blanket I love. This is one of my friends. Her and her husband are an art team. They started Blue Sleeve Studio. It's an art collection with Shannon Thomas and Gavin Jones. Really fabulous, and they do a lot of creative productions, and I love this blanket. That's what that's from. Some of my other favorite art in here is hanging right there. That is a print. It is a Raven Roxanne print. It's from her Bird's Nest line. She talks a lot about like a bird's nest being a collection of not beautiful things to make something really beautiful and kind of a birthplace. And so I love the story behind her bird's nest, but everyone calls me Bird. So I also have always wanted a collection from her lovebirds and her bird's nest. Actually, my first design account like 15 years ago was called Bird's Nest, and it was me decorating my house. And so I really love that painting for that reason. You'll see I talked about this color being kind of like the start of the design of the primary bathroom. I'm going to take you that way now so you can see the flow of how it gets darker and darker. So my primary bathroom is right off of my bedroom. I chose these antique doors that might have been side lights, but we converted them into French doors. You can see we move a shade darker. This is Barbary by Benjamin Moore. It's a really beautiful mauve color. And I did that because I knew I was gonna accent these little vestibules with a really dark burgundy. This is the original floor plan from the house before they had a combined shower tub on this side and a toilet just floating with a double vanity here. It's a pretty small space for a primary bath, but we had to make it feel like really luxurious for it being tiny. And because it was so small, we could do things like we framed both the shower and the toilet room, the water closet, in a marble because it's not a lot of marble that was needed. Throughout here, everything I think was based off of this burgundy marble. I really wanted a like dark purple or a dark red subway tile and wasn't finding it. And then I found this marble and was like, I have to have it. It was a little complicated getting the pencil rail in. It kept breaking to build out this frame because I had to do this mock trim that I had hand designed and hand drawn and had it mimicked on the water closet side. On both, everywhere in my bathroom, I have polished nickeled fixtures with unlacquered brass accents. In this shower in particular, the whole thing is the burgundy marble. It's really beautiful. Some things I did in here, I put all of the controls on that side. I normally open the door out, it's a double swing door, and turn it on so I don't get sprayed. And in my last house, I didn't have the arm shower. I didn't think it was necessary, and it was such a pain to clean. So that was like my only other must-have in this room. Otherwise, it's like a small but really well-sized, you don't hit your elbows shower, and works great for us. I think a lot of my design in this house is for us. It's not for resale. I don't know that everybody wants a dark pink primary bath or a single sink in their primary bathroom. But that's what works for us. We are two girls. We need a lot of counter space. We rarely brush our teeth at the same time, but we do get ready at the same time. And so this vanity was a double vanity. It's from Home Depot. It is incredibly cheap, but I had it, dressed up. I had it custom lacquered to the wall color, and then I had it changed from a double vanity to a single vanity just by flipping this drawer to be a U-shaped drawer to go around the plumbing, and then adding shelves in each of these cabinets. This marble top I custom designed. I had the counterman come and do this soft OG edge that curved, and then kind of the draw up to the shelf up top. Because we don't have a lot of space in here, a lot of storage in here, I really wanted to have that shelf to put little tchotchkes on. And so it's, I don't know, it's really worked out for us. This light fixture is one of my favorite lights. I call it the Fancy Nancy. Nancy is who helped pick out all of my lighting, and she has this in a big size in her dining room. It's the same price as almost every one of the other fixtures, which are much bigger. But I love it, and it makes me so happy, and it reflects the gilded brass here on the sconces that I have. The sconces have a reeded glass, and then both my doors have a reeded glass. You can take a peek in the water closet just because the paint color is so fun. The paint color is called Bewitched, and I did cabinetry up to the ceiling, did the walls and the ceiling in a high gloss. It's like a very red brown, and it works great. And the reason we did the reeded glass both on the shower and here was because we wanted to have matching doors, and I wanted to have some privacy walking into the water closet. So when we were figuring out the layout, because we were doing an addition, I had some flexibility. I knew we were gonna do the kids back here and do the family den off of it, but we don't have a lot of storage space. And so I kind of created these little vestibules, these halls, to work as the storage. Each kid has one. And then I really wanted their bathroom to be Jack and Jill, but I also needed us to be able to use a bathroom from the back without walking all the way around. So what I ended up doing was doing pocket doors in this hallway. This one goes to their bathroom, and this one goes to our laundry room. And then that way anybody can use the bathroom, but it still feels very much like my daughter's walking into her bedroom. So this is kind of her little vestibule. It's also sort of the dogs and ours, and we throw some of our junk in here. This is Adair's, and then one of my absolute favorite paintings ever. It's a Kate Grace. I've been wanting a KGB for years. She's a fabulous artist out of New Orleans, and she's really fun and creative and bold, and that's what Adair is, and kind of I designed Adair's room based off her personality. It's absolutely wild, I should say. She is the boss. She is all sass. She is all fun, silly, definitely bold, and definitely bright. And I feel like this painting speaks to that and is a great entry point into kind of my design around Adair's room. If you look at her room, the wall color and the trim are all Violet Pearl by Benjamin Moore. It's really a soft lavender. I love it for a little girl's room. As a whole, her room has a lot of different patterns and a lot of different colors, especially a pop of bright pink. That's kind of how I would describe her, as a pop of bright pink. She's truly something else. This dresser was my grandma's. It's an antique. I knew I was gonna lacquer it. I didn't know the color. I pulled it, I think it's Lazy Afternoon by Benjamin Moore. I pulled it from the rug. I went with a deeper purple and had it like lacquered in this gloss paint. And then this hardware was so difficult. None of them are centered on each other, and the hole-to-hole measurements change. So I couldn't get just any like prefab hardware. I had to get something custom. The brass that was on here, the antique that was on here, was a little too gaudy against the lacquer, and so I needed something somewhat softer, and I ended up finding these leather pulls from Etsy. They came with a metal cap. It didn't look right. It didn't look well finished, and so I found these little thread nuts, these brass balls to put on it to kind of dress it up a little bit and keep it nice. They still didn't feel right. There's so many of them. I had one of these butterflies I had gotten to try, since the hole-to-hole measurement doesn't matter for it. And it looked great, but you couldn't have 30 of them. So I just spattered them across to kind of distract from the pink ones, and I think it's finally gotten to a good place. This mirror is also an antique. I found it from Facebook Marketplace for very low cost, but it was a heavy wood, and even though she doesn't have any woods in the rest of the room, so it felt like I could do a wood, it didn't feel right. So I decided I was gonna put fabric on it. Watched a tutorial online. It said easiest DIY you'll ever do. Told my mom and my nana, who were here visiting, helping me recover chairs and stuff, and they had it done by the time I got back from bringing my kids to school. They said it was not the easiest DIY, but they did have it done by the time I got it back. And that fabric is the same fabric as her curtain, which is directly across from it, so it really ties the whole room in. I also have some fun artwork up here. These are the frames that open and shut so that you can fill them with kids' art. I did the fabric again in the back of it, so if ever the artwork isn't the right size, it has like a faux matted look, but not in a well-polished way that a kid's art wouldn't be. Sometimes it looks a little DIY, and that's okay because it's kids art. This is Adair's shelf. It's got mostly kids books, puzzles that she loves, some items that are special to me. This one in particular, my mom sewed this for me when I was a kid, and now it's Adair's exact size. And I absolutely love it. It's also just the perfect colors for in here, so it'll probably hang even once she can't fit into it. This pillow is everything for the room. It's Adair in a nutshell. I'm really trying not to give her a complex, but she is the drama. If you've ever seen Wicked, she is Galinda walking over and fake passing out and then looking back to see if you're noticing. She's absolutely theatric, but we love every second of it. This pattern is another fun pattern. This is an Estately Nola find. I plan to use this in the front room. I didn't plan to use it in here, but as her like collection of creativity was growing, I thought the colors worked really well. I tried to tone it down with this little rattan lamp and give her some reading light because we do her nighttime stories in here. Her layout mostly has an open floor. That's just because she's at the age where she crawls and she plays and she needs that. And so we have a big, really soft rug on top of the natural fiber carpet that I did in both of the kids' rooms. The rug's from Anthropologie. It's a lot of color, but more than anything, it's incredibly soft. And so it's great for her. When we first moved here, she was still crawling, but also that's where we play. And then you can see these purple floral curtains. They're the same as what was on the mirror. Just another print. I couldn't go with a plain white in here because Adair's anything but plain. Lastly, in her room, you have this piano with this piece of art over it. For her first birthday, the theme was Elton John, how wonderful life is with you in the world. And we all dressed up. I actually have a picture I'll show you, but she got the piano as part of the decor for me, but as part of her gift for her, and she loves banging on it. So I think it's hilarious, and I kept the Elton John books to be in theme on the ground. This painting is how I found the artist from the living room, Alex Vitos from Lafayette. She's incredible. I love all of her different lines. Wanted something floral here, wanted something with lots of color, wanted something big, and I really loved the way it turned out in the room. Okay, and so right off we'll go into her, well, the Jack and Jill door for her side of the bathroom that my kids share. I don't know, I think the kitchen's my favorite space, but this would be a close second. So this bathroom, probably the first decision I made well before we started renovating was that I was gonna do a striped tile in their bathroom. I knew I was gonna do a sage, or I thought I was gonna do a sage just because it's gender neutral. It's also just neutral. You can keep it for a long time. Usually I don't like to do colors or bold in tiles or in counters. Because it's more expensive to change than paint. Paint's the easiest way to add color to a room without having to commit to it forever. But this color I feel like you can commit to for a long time, and you know it'll work because you can change it up a lot of different ways. So this is a sage green, it's called Country Mist, and then a white tile, just a plain subway but laid vertically. And then I like a really thin grout line, and I like the grout to almost disappear. I'm usually not a fan of white grout. I like a cream or a sand. I feel like white grout gets dirty. But in this case, I color match the grout to the tile. And I actually color match the white that's on the ceiling above the tile and on the trim to that tile too. It's called Barely There by Benjamin Moore. This room has a lot of fun design decisions. I wanted to keep it really lively, really silly, really kid. I didn't want it to feel stuffy. I'm not a huge fan of sconces over the mirror. I couldn't figure out how to lay it without doing a double one here, which we didn't have wired. And so when I found these sconces that were wide and antique, but also like soft, I absolutely had to have them. They're an antique brass with the glass like that. And then I tried to tie that in. This is a prefab vanity. They have a very small space to have a double vanity, but I wanted each kid to have their own things. And so we got the prefab one like this, but then I tried to jazz it up by mimicking that brass and glass on the hardware. A very inexpensive change that I think, you know, made a big difference. I also think it's really important if you're painting your room to color drench your outlets and your light switches. And so we did that. In this case, this is not a recommendation I would make, but the outlet couldn't be moved without an expensive change order or breaking code. It was one of the two. And so I just painted it and put the mirror on top of it. I could not find the right mirror for this space. Brass just felt like it would be too intense. Not having a frame felt like it would feel inexpensive. And I was like, I need something fun. But I tried different like painted or printed or busy things, and it just wasn't working. And then I saw these little scallop mirrors, and I thought, that's great. I have a scallop here, I have a scallop here, I have a scallop on some of their linens. And so I added that scallop, but I painted it the wall color to kind of blend it back in. And I really loved the way it turned out. My favorite thing in this room is all of their linens. Their towels are a lot of fun. And then the spa colored monogram towels. They each have their own robe, and I brought the colorful polka dot towels to the monogrammer to see if she could, what she wanted to do, and she picked it. And Lyle's favorite colors are orange and blue, so I think it worked out great. Most people's favorite part of the room is the alligator rug. It's a very Louisiana decision, but since we're not in Louisiana, it felt like totally appropriate for us to do here. My favorite decision is the rug underneath it, which is just the perfect color. It goes in any room. I would use this rug over and over again. It's 100% wool, so it's not gonna be an issue being in a bathroom with water. There's no blend in it. And I really love the tight weave in it. And then I just layered the alligator on top and got one of the non-slip rug pads. We also have Emerson's childhood stool for brushing her teeth. And then I put all their little gizmos and gadgets on a tray to make it look less crowded, but that's their, toothbrushing equipment and these little DIY bath sprays that Lyle made with me one day when we were playing potions. And then really the only art in here is these Preservation Press pieces. Preservation Press is out of Lafayette, Louisiana. She'll preserve your wedding flowers, or she'll have flowers from around the state and design them into really beautiful artwork. And I framed them in these dark bamboo frames. This was actually in Lyle's nursery as a kid, and I loved it. And then now I have them here, and you can see the real flowers that she pressed, and they're so beautiful. And I love all my artwork from Louisiana. Right off of Lyle's room, his walkway to the living room, which is also the walkway closest to our exterior door, is this little hall. We kind of use it as our mud room. I did this beadboard behind it with a peg rail capping it and a shelf on top. I can put up a lot of my favorite memories and art that maybe don't look so aesthetic in other spaces because you don't see this from any angle of the home. It's also where we, put on shoes, grab backpacks, hang rain jackets. And so it's got a lot of fun in here. This is a poem that Emerson's dad wrote Lyle. The alligator happened to match this alligator exactly, so I put it side by side. And that is an actual poster from when the Beatles played City Park in New Orleans that my dad gave me. As Lyle talked about, we could not have enough bugs in our house. We're big bug fans. And so this is just a little bug tote he has. My sister painted this piece of art for me when I was in college. It's actually a picture of me and my friends on Bourbon Street. This is kind of like a bunch of different stuff. Emerson drew all of these. She drew this Roman candy in high school. That's actually a portrait of Emerson, obviously our kids. This book, I really have no idea where it came from, but it says Emily Emerson's Moon, and since it had our name on it, I put it up there. This is the picture I was telling you about from Adair's first birthday, which is probably my favorite family photo of all time because it was How Wonderful Life Is, an Elton John theme. She's Tiny Dancer. I made this costume for Lyle by myself. This is Rocket Man. I dyed an Elvis costume and then stitched on all the fire and glitter and then made his wings and his hat and his glasses. I was Dodger Stadium, and then Emerson, I made her costume too from an old costume tux. I ironed on all of the stars and then took 2 pair of sunglasses and glued them together. But that is from Elton John, 1986 in Australia. And so literally probably my favorite family photo, though a little bit excessive to just have out and about. Okay, and next we're gonna go see Lyle's room. Do you wanna show him? Okay, come on. So when we first started designing this room, he told me he wanted his room to be orange and blue. And I let him pick out the color of the walls.
And the color is blue lace.
It's Blue Lace by Benjamin Moore. It's a light blue, and then I wanted a dusty cornflower blue, but we ended up, watch out, Duty, I'm gonna shut the door. We ended up settling on a... No, what is that plant?
Oh, you know it.
It's a succulent.
This is a succulent.
That's a succulent that he picked out for his room. With what's that, a stripe or a polka dot?
But it's pointy too.
It's pointy too. And so most of his room, we kind of built off different colors and textures that kept the orange and blue.
My fish is named Shiny.
Your fish is named Shiny?
Mm-hmm.
What else do you love in your room?
And this is my bed.
Is it an antique?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then what about your bed sheets? Do you want to show them that?
And this is my bed sheets. Ladybug bed sheet.
What are ladybugs for?
Good luck. And this is a hard play.
Well, show us. What is that?
A hard play.
Can you show us your lamp too?
Mm-hmm. And this is my lamp.
I love decorating kids' rooms because it's like the easiest with tchotchkes because they love so many different things. Like Lyle loves dinosaurs, Lyle loves Blaze. So we set a bunch of stuff out, that stuff that he plays with, and that really works in the room.
Again.
Oh, look, he's got more on this side. Okay, let's go see. It's an iguana. You show him?
And this is my iguana.
An iguana and his lava lamp. Huh.
And that's my lava lamp.
Yeah.
And this is my rug.
Okay, so Lyle's room, he said he wanted a blue and orange room. Those are his two favorite colors. We started with the base of the light blue lace. We added this darker trim, and then we accented things with orange. I let him pick out a lot of stuff. Did you pick out your paint color? Yeah, he picked out the paint color blue lace, and he picked out this rug. I showed him about 100 different rugs, and this was the only one he kept going back to. It's also the most expensive rug in the house. It's from First Dibs. It is a Swedish Rollicon rug, a really tight wool weave. Very comfortable, very durable.
And this is my lamp.
And that is his lamp, which also has a DIY geometric print in orange on it to tie in the orange. His bedding is the same, similar blue on blue.
And these are the polka dots on it.
He has orange polka dots on his lamp. He has red polka dots, ladybugs on his sheet, which he loves. And then keeping up with the bug theme, we have the Beatles pillow on top. And that actually is a Beatles, but the band, John Lennon portrait from my dad that's hanging there. He has a lot of sentimental things.
This is the album Middle Two.
And Hokey Pokey.
And that's Hokey Pokey.
Emerson's grandma used to teach children, so she had a bunch of vintage nursery rhymes on vinyl, and we hung them as like a little homage to her in here, and I love it. One other funky DIY I did is that antique sailboat print. It was like $10, and then I gold leafed the frame and wrote on it with right on top of the glass this little saying, "Raise hell, kid." Emerson thinks it looks like a kid did it, and that's why I like it. I think it works out. This is a kid's room, so it's not.
No, and this is paint on it.
And that is black paint on it. I think it works out with this layout for him to play. Things are pushed up against the wall. There's space. It's not a perfectly aesthetic room, but it is a very fun and functional room for a little kid. We took his beanbag. Can you jump on that? Ooh, yeah, we took his beanbag and spun it around and used it as a footstool. That's kind of where we end up doing a lot of our reading. His bookshelf has a ton of books on it. I couldn't figure out, acrylic shelves felt a little too modern in here. Do you want to go pick out a book for me? Mm-hmm. Okay. Acrylic.
And then you can read it, okay?
Okay. Felt a little too modern in here, and wood felt a little too heavy against the antique bed. So instead, blueberries for Sal. That one's kind of long.
Oh, it's not.
So I ordered these raw oak ones from Amazon. They're very inexpensive, and I painted them the wall color and pushed it. Leave that alone, sweetheart.
What's this?
That's your microphone. And I painted it the wall color blue lace and then layered all of his books on them, kind of organized by height, but really they rotate because he reads so much. I think it's really important when you're decorating bookshelves that it's not just all books. So we have a lot of toys up on there. Lyle, do you like your shades? Do you want to show them how they work?
Mm-hmm. I can open the shades like this.
They're the single loop corded shades. These are fabric from Ballard Design. He has these ladybug sheets. He also has a green gingham sheet from Schoolhouse. An orange gingham sheet from Schoolhouse. And this was the only fabric that really tied in every color of the room.
I love my room.
Thanks, baby. I so decorate to the history of a home. I love knowing who's lived here in the past. I love knowing the architectural style and elements and layers. But I think what makes a home feel like a home is the people who live in it, and all your stuff should be a reflection of you. It should be things you love, things that make you excited, and things you use. It should be really practical if it's gonna be in your space. I think that's what makes a house feel like it's yours. So easy. Home is wherever my Emerson is, where my babies are. There's a song I always sing to them. It's like, home is wherever I'm with you.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Sophie.
And I'm Michael. Welcome to our home in Atlanta. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Michael Kaufman, and I'm the managing attorney of Kaufman Injury Law.
And I'm Sophie Kaufman, a social media marketer. Welcome to our home in Atlanta, Georgia. We have lived here for approximately 4 months, which I was very fast in getting everything kind of completed in the house. We are both originally from Atlanta, Georgia, and we lived in a 2-bedroom in Cabbagetown, which is a really cool, eclectic neighborhood in town. We have 2 kids. We were outgrowing our 2-bedroom. Our daughter was actually living in our dining room, so we'd been looking for a house for a few years, but as the housing market was getting crazier and crazier, we were kind of losing some of the momentum, but we both found this house, and it was the first house in years that we both naturally walked into and we said, this is it. We were really lucky that with this house, actually, the owners wanted 3 months to stay in it, so we were under contract for 3 months, and I know that wouldn't work for some people, but for us, that gave me basically 3 months leeway to be able to design, order furniture, and all of the things to be able to get the home ready for when we moved in January.
Sophie and I both knew right away. We're both of the school of thought when home buying that it has to be the right house. Buying a house is a huge decision, and a lot of people do that. They kind of jump in because they need the place or they feel like it's the next logical step. We were very patient. Like I said, we were busting at the seams in our old place, but waited for the exact perfect house. And both of us feel like when you walk into a place and you know, and that's how we found this house, and that's how we decided to make an offer and get the place.
Welcome to our sitting room. So very similar to the rest of the house, we went with a traditional vibe, but wanted a modern take that still felt really inviting and fresh. So we have a lot of blues, greens, whites, and you'll see my favorite color, a pop of pink in every room. So we tried to mix match as much as we could. So you see we have the pink flowers here that's gonna go along with one of my favorite abstract pieces that I actually won in an online auction. I'm all about bamboo gold accents, so you'll see that majority of the picture frames that we have in the house have gold accents around, and I love mix matching frames. So I feel like being able to mix match art with different frames really elevates the space, makes it feel like it has some sort of vintage charm. And so again, talking about how the house has some character, whether we can do that through the crown molding in the house and be able to tie some of those accents with some of the molding with our picture frames is something that I spent a lot of time doing. These chairs are one of my favorite Facebook Marketplaces find. We love Facebook Marketplace, and by we, I mean me. Michael didn't even know that these chairs came from Facebook Marketplace. They just magically appeared for him. So I look at it every morning. We pick these up. I really loved the linen texture with it because linen is very fresh. It's very summery to me. And more importantly, I wanted to pick fabrics that I could hopefully easily clean. And so with 2 kids, I wanted to have fabrics that I could easily spray and wipe. And thankfully this linen is a performance linen and was able to do so.
What's great about the linen and the colors that we chose for this, that Sophie chose for this room, is how well lit this room is. If you'll see back behind you, these windows let in all the morning light, and it's morning right now. So every morning we come in and come downstairs from sleeping, and this is kind of a very nice welcome to the day. We have little pops of, personal touches and flowers to give it a light, airy feel, and really love that about this place. You see the floral theme is everywhere. This is actually a television, by the way. We can make this this painting, any painting we want in the world, but we chose florals because it really ties in with the rest of the room.
Going back to the TV, we have the Samsung frame TV, and yeah, like Michael says, we're able to change the artwork as much as we want. And I have this hydrangea piece here because it feels like it fits with the spring and summer vibe that we have going on, but what's great about it is that we can change it at any time. I got these 2 cushions online actually from Amazon, and I loved, first of all, they were super affordable. I think I got both of them for $150. One thing that you will notice in the house is I mix match a lot of high-end pieces and low-end pieces. So while this Facebook Marketplace find was a little bit more pricier, this sofa is from Wayfair, that's a little bit more pricier. These pillows were from HomeGoods and were very, very affordable. These were from Amazon. These were also from HomeGoods. One thing that I do have in the house is a lot of fake plants. So I really spent a lot of time finding fake plants that looked real because with 2 kids and a dog, again, I don't have a lot of time to be able to water everything that we have. So I wanted to find a lot of plants that still looked lively and we were able to bring some like nature to the space. And so this fig tree to me looks so authentic. And again, another Amazon find. And then going back to some of the artwork. So you will notice that a lot of the artwork has the same color theme as the house. So you'll see some blues, you'll see some greens, and then some pops of pink. And so all of the pieces that we have carry that same color palette. I love nude portraits, so I found this on Cherish. Cherish has amazing art if you guys are ever looking. And then our famous bunny art, because I'm a huge fan of that. I have a couple pieces throughout the house. So this side table is very special to me because my mom actually made the fabric. I was looking on Etsy all over for custom, round tablecloth, and they were very, very pricey. So instead we bought the fabric, got the trim, and she was able to sew it for me. I tie in, again, vintage charm with some new elegant pieces. So this was a vintage find. Nice candle. As Michael mentioned, we have a lot of family photos throughout the house to be able to tie into like really, who our family values are and how we are. And then some of my favorite books as well. These were actually housewarming gifts, so I'm excited to be able to bring those into some of the decor. My other thing I wanted to share with you guys is I love chinoiserie. I want to be very mindful of how much of it, because I think it can go either way. You can either have too much of it or too little of it. This is a vintage candle that I found, and these are all from Home Goods. So I love these ginger jars. You'll see throughout the house, I have ginger jars in different sizes. This was an extra large one, of course. And I put it down here, and then here two ones that I have accenting the television. And then this fireplace screen that we have was, again, another Facebook Marketplace find. It was very rusted when I get it. In one of my projects before we moved to the house, spray painted and cleaned it. And I'm really excited for how it turned out. And the gold, again, complements the gold from our planter pot, and then the gold from the picture frames as well.
Now that we've seen the sitting room, let's take a look at the heart of the house, the living room. Welcome to our family room. This is where we spend most of our time. Like I said, it's the heart of our house. One of my favorite parts of this house is this custom bookshelf that was already built when we came here. I'll let Sophie tell you a little bit about how she was able to decorate this in her exact style.
Yeah, so the bookshelf was a challenging project for me because, as you can see, there's many different layers that go to it. One of my biggest things when I'm decorating is, again, thinking of a good color palette. So I'm sticking with a lot of greens, a lot of blues, and a lot of golds. So I was able to mix match a lot of pieces, and this one probably spent the most amount of time being able to outsource everything that I was going to get. So I found a lot of picture frames because I wanted to showcase our family photos. I have a lot of vintage books. Some of them were Michael's old law school books, and then some of them were ones that I just got from vintage shops. You'll see the ginger jars in various sizes again that I wanted to play throughout the home to be able to tie it into some of the other rooms. I have a lot of busts going on. I have the Staffordshire dogs. Those are something that I want to collect eventually and have a collection of them. They're very cool to me.
I think you already have a little collection going.
That's very true. And then I have fun story about the rocks is one time Michael and I were road tripping to North Georgia. We were in Helen, and there was a rock gem store, and I made him pull over, and I was like, we need to get all of these rocks. And lo and behold, he said we wouldn't use them, but we are using them in our house. I feel like gems have good energy, and I wanted to bring that into this room as well. I'm gonna walk over here. I was able to play with a lot of the hydrangea floral pattern that I have going on. So you'll see a lot of hydrangeas throughout the house. So I have this hydrangea press print that I have in both sides of the bookcase. This art, I actually just finished painting it this week, and I was able to hang it up yesterday before the shoot. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys. One thing that I've really enjoyed about this house, I feel like I was able to get my creative mojo back. So I'm sure some moms can relate when you first give birth, go through postpartum and all of the things. You're so tied down, you're figuring out your new rhythm. And this year was the first year I was able to really feel like myself and start getting creative again, start drawing, and start playing with interior design again. When we were looking for an ottoman, I wanted to have something that was able to come in the middle of the sectional, but also something that I knew my kids would jump on. My son loves jumping from this to this to this. So I actually found, again, on Facebook Marketplace, a $20 ottoman, and I was able to get it custom slip covered. So this is one of my favorite pieces, again, because I can just take the slip cover off if something spills on it and pop it in the laundry room and be able to bring it right back out.
The pillows, so my mom is also a really incredible decorator, and every few years she kind of refreshes and updates her house. And so the timing really worked out. We were very lucky that she had no more use for these, and they're such beautiful colors. We just had to have them, and we're fortunate enough for her to give them to us.
Yeah, and I want to show the colors of the pillow, again, tying into what I would say really makes a house come together is blending in colors. So the blues and the greens, again, match the rest of the house. We have some pinks and reds. So I tie that into these hydrangeas over here. And then if you come over here, you'll be able to see right behind the pillows this awesome ballerina painting that we have that also speaks to the reds. So that way everything looks blended and cohesive, but again, really playing into that fresh, inviting, natural light colors palette that I wanted to have going on. One of my favorite parts about this house are the French doors that open up to our pool area. I'm very excited to show that to you, but this has such an abundance of natural light coming in, so I really wanted to play with the lightness of the hues with this room specifically so that it always felt inviting, it always felt exciting. After a long night with my daughter, or if we're really tired in the morning, we just come down here, we cook breakfast in the kitchen, we sit and watch a movie, get ready for the day. And so I think I wanted this room to really feel inviting and bright and tie that in with all of the pieces that we have in the room as well. This is my favorite room in the house. As mentioned, we love to entertain, and I was so excited to not have my daughter live in our dining room and have a formal dining room to be able to host our guests. These chairs are custom lacquered. I got it from a small business in, I believe, North Carolina called Rail and Style. I am a huge fan of cabbageware, and so I was able to find these at Dillard's and really be able to play in some of the hues that we have going on with the house. So I thought that the natural rattan placemats play into kind of the linen fabrics that we have going on, that summer vibe that we want to be able to showcase when people come over. We have the pink hydrangeas because I love flowers, and then a lot of greens, blues, and whites. We also have linen fabric on the dining room chairs as well. I really loved these chairs because of the shape. I thought it was so unique, and also the circle plays into the circle shape that's in our chandelier. This chandelier is from Visual Comfort and was my splurge item. You can ask Michael. I was like, whatever we do, I want this chandelier. The old chandelier for the house was this modern fixture and really didn't feel like it was just too contemporary for what we wanted to have. And so these balls are just really, it's a show-stopping piece in my opinion. I'm gonna walk you over to our bar cart. The bar cart was from our old house, and I was really happy to be able to reuse the wood that plays off of this antique dining room table that we have. And you'll see more cabbage pieces because I love those. Michael can speak to this piece. This was something that we found at an old Anthropologie outlet.
The reason why Sophie's asking me to speak to this piece is because this is my one actual contribution to the decorating of the house. And we found this at the, what's the place called?
Anthropologie outlet,
Yeah,
Final Cut.
Final Cut, which I think no longer exists. But I saw this piece from across the store and knew I had to have it. It was hanging up in our old house in the dining room. And here it is again. It's just a nice touch that luckily tied into the colors that we were using, the gold and the blue. And I love the figurine from it. I like to think of her as a Greek goddess from a long time ago, maybe the goddess of decorating.
Here we go. Oh, another reason again that we've mentioned that we love this house is all of the natural light that it has, and these French doors have been really great because we're able to have this in and out flex space when we're hosting our friends. So we're able to eat dinner here, have the natural breeze from the wind here. So this is kind of, I've never imagined having a dining room with a French door, but I'm really happy that we have that because we're able to see the action from the road while we're eating. And then one of my favorite pieces that I'm so excited to share with you guys is this Willem Skilling horse artwork that I found. Of all places, I found it on Craigslist. So I haven't been on Craigslist in years, but I was looking for this piece. There's an interior designer in Atlanta who actually matched the wallpaper with this piece, and I had saved it on my Pinterest board years ago, and I was really happy to be able to replicate that. These go for $11,000 and up, and I was able to find on Craigslist for $800 from somewhere in California. So their loss is my win.
Tell them about shipping it here.
Shipping here was a little bit of a challenge to be able to get it across country in an affordable way, but I was able to get it done. And again, because I had 3 months to really prep for the home, I was able to do the slowest shipping option to be able to get it. You will see my son's room has a lot of horse accents. So again, I'm blending a lot of pieces that really tell that storytelling. It's not just storytelling in one room, it's being able to have the story throughout the entire home. We have pictures of my kids. We have these vintage brass candlesticks, more flowers, and again, bringing in the pinks. So something that I do in every room, you'll see it. Pink is my favorite color, and I'm able to showcase that in a fun, traditional way. So historically, I don't think people really use pinks as a more traditional and classic color, but I feel like you can still bring it in a very elegant way.
A quick extra word about the candlesticks. Those were my grandmother's, Those were her Shabbos candles.
We're able to use those. I'm glad to be able to have her memory live with us through these candlesticks. And then this amazing walnut buffet was another Facebook place find. I wanted to find something that was a similar, wood color that would match the dining room table and then also our bar cart. And I think they all blend together very seamlessly.
Now we're going to take you outside so you can see our outdoor space.
One of our favorite places in the whole house. Come on. We had 3 months basically being under contract for the house. So I had 3 months to prep with all my PowerPoints and source everything I wanted for the home. Our last house was very eclectic, very colorful. I am naturally drawn to a lot of colors. I love the rainbow. I always have rainbow nails. But my style has very much evolved since becoming a mom. I've gotten a little bit older. And so for this house, I was very much drawn to a little mix of traditional. I love chinoiserie, I love grand millennial, but I also wanted a fresh and modern take on that. And so you'll be able to see throughout the house. There are a lot of blues, there are a lot of accent pieces that lean into grand millennial and chinoiserie with the greens, the blues, the natural whites. But I was able to bring kind of my own spin to it. There's still tons of color to be able to showcase our personality. We brought in a lot of accent pieces. We have pieces of heirlooms that were from his grandma's, from his mom's house. I had some amazing finds from Home Goods and Goodwill of all places to be able to bring the home together.
Sophie had an incredible vision going in. It was really fun to watch the whole thing come together and how fast it was.
Thank you.
Whenever we go and talk to people about the house, the first thing they say is, I can't believe how fast you put everything together. And luckily, like Sophie said, we had some time to plan and decorate before we actually moved in. So the day we closed, we were immediately ready to go. Sophie has a million ideas. She has such an incredible vision. My job was to kind of rein it in a little bit and say, maybe that's too much wallpaper, maybe that's too many.
Too expensive and not in the budget.
Maybe it's not in the budget. But I wanted to give her as much freedom as I possibly could because I knew that she would be able to bring this house to life, and she really has.
Welcome to our kitchen. So the kitchen is one of the buying focal points of the house, and we loved it so much. It has this big island, so we're able to sit here for dinner, we'll be able to cook, and I love the windows that go outside, so we're able to see if our kids are playing back in the backyard. I can still be cooking dinner, but then also be able to see everything that's going on in our backyard. With this kitchen, fun fact, when we got it, the house was very dark and muted, I guess you would say. So the kitchen was this very dark green, and all of the tile was this beige and brown tile, and it just really didn't fit the mood of who me and Michael were. So that was probably one of our biggest projects of the house. We painted all of the cabinets this amazing Pharaoh and Ball blue color, and then we updated the tile to be a traditional subway tile that would really blend in with that modern traditional feel that we're going for.
The paint that we used and the subway tile is the same colors that we used in our old house. So it was kind of bringing the old into the new, and I really love that feeling of nostalgia mixed with
familiarity,
with novelty.
Yeah, and again, you'll see hydrangeas throughout the house, fake ones, but hopefully they look real to you guys because I want the room to feel fresh and airy. We have some lemons. What I really, really love about the kitchen is all of the storage that we have. So again, with 2 kids, we have a ton of utensils, we have everything going on, and that we're able to kind of hide them and pocket them within the drawers. A fun fact about this kitchen that I'd never seen before is that we actually have 2 dishwashers. So we have 1 dishwasher here and 1 dishwasher over here.
I think one day I'm going to replace one of the dishwashers with a drink cooler, may be a better use, although we have used both at the same time.
Yeah, to me, having 2 dishwashers have been, kind of a game changer. Sometimes, when you're entertaining, you have more plates than you can wash, and so being able to have that flexibility has been really great for us. You'll be able to see some of the chinoiserie patterning that I love throughout the kitchen as well. So with some of the vases, some of the kitchen utensils, and then some of the pots as well. I'm going to show you guys my favorite salt and pepper shakers because I mentioned I really love those Staffordshire dogs, and I found them in salt and pepper shakers.
Something that's really cool about the kitchen is these windows that rotate out. This way, during the summer, we can call the kids in for lunch or dinner without having to go outside. It lets in the summer breeze and keeps the air conditioning in at the same time.
And over here we have a fun little wet bar that we use for all of our entertaining. So we get to hide all of our fun glassware pieces here. We have alcohol underneath. I have some of our surprise, hydrangea cups that we're able to use whenever we just want to pop on the patio and have a glass of wine. And you'll see again some of those chinoiserie elements, our art with the gold accent pieces, and forever going to have picture frames of our kids so we can be reminded of how cute they are. And right off of our kitchen, we have our powder room bath. This is a small but mighty bathroom. Again, kind of going back to what the house looked like, it was very beige, it was very brown. The mirror was this dark brown color, and I was able to paint it a color that matched the wallpaper, and it tied in with some of the brass accent pieces. One of my favorite parts about it, you'll see, is the towel holder, and then also the light fixture that we have up on the mirror. Both of these were very affordable finds, but look very high end. The towel holder, I think, was under 20, and the light fixture was under 100. And I was able to transform this entire powder room for less than $500 with everything included, but really elevate it to make it a wow space when people go to the bathroom, when they come over and hang out with us.
I'm a personal injury lawyer, and I've known that I wanted to be a personal injury lawyer since I was a little kid. When I was young, about 12 years old, I went to my first trial, and it was the trial of a man who was catastrophically injured in a medical malpractice event. And the moment I knew I wanted to become a lawyer was when they called him to the stand, and he was profoundly injured. He was paralyzed, everything except for his eyes. And they called him to the stand, and it was blink once for yes, blink twice for no. They asked him one open-ended question, and that question was, what do you miss most about your life before you were injured? And he blinked out his answer, 1 for A, 2 for B. And after several minutes of doing this, the answer was, I miss laying in bed next to my wife. And that moment was so powerful. I remember it so well. And it drove me to go to law school and become a lawyer so that I could also help people who have been seriously injured and put their life back together after terrible events.
And one thing that I really respect about Michael's job is, attorneys have very long hours, and we're at this stage in our life where our kids are very demanding and bedtime is very important. And so I really respect that he has valued his time and that he cuts off normally around 5:30 and is able to help in and do bedtime, because I read all these Instagrams at 0 to 5 years are like really, monumental periods for your kids, and we want to be there for that. So we're both really lucky that he's able to dedicate his time to both helping people as a lawyer and then also being a good father. I do social media marketing, so I went to University of Southern California after going to UGA. Fun fact is that Michael and I have been dating on and off since we were 16, so we are semi-high school sweethearts and have known each other for over half of our lives and really have grown up together. And so we both were at UGA, and then when I was at USC, he was in law school, and we both had our school schedules that we were able to see each other all the time. When I was at USC, that's when Instagram and social media started picking up, and I really got into and saw the power of community building and storytelling. And so I realized I had originally studied journalism, but I basically switched journalism into digital marketing with social media. And since then, I have worked at a couple of companies. So I worked at magazines, I worked at Glamour when I was in college, I worked at Spanx and managed their social media, I worked at agencies here, and now I'm managing social media for a fashion company, and I help brands with any B2C marketing that they have in direct to consumer. And I'm lucky that I work remote, so again, I'm able to be here for my kids and be able to, balance that full-time mommy life with our family. And welcome to my laundry room. Laundry rooms are generally really boring. This one originally was. It had black tile, was painted a beige color, and the cabinets were a gray color. I really wanted this space to feel fresh and fun. Doing laundry is kind of a mundane task, and I wanted to have it have a little bright pop of hue so that I would feel good when I was doing the kids' laundry and my laundry every week. So my favorite part is this tile. It plays very much into the rest of the colors of the house. It is a penny tile that has rosette floral patterning with blues and whites. We were able to paint the cabinets right here. I have some hydrangea flowers to be able to lighten up the space. And I was really able to play up some of the storage with how we keep our laundry pods, some towels whenever you need it when we come from the pool, and then our 2 laundry fixtures. And one of my favorite parts is this calendar that we actually have that really plays into our family calendar that we have going on. We know that we have tons of activities, we have work events, and so the calendar helps us stay very organized with what's going on.
Welcome to our backyard entertaining space. This is one of the best areas of the whole house. We have room for at least 6 people, and we've fit as many as 15 people here. A few weeks ago, we had all of our closest friends over for, somebody came to the house and did hibachi. It was like an incredible evening. The backyard is actually turf, so no mowing, just blowing, and it stays green all year round. What I really love about back here is the canopy of trees. We have bird song all throughout the day and an incredible array of shrubs and beautiful flowers. We have hydrangeas and rhododendrons and azaleas. And it's just a really nice, tranquil place to hang out and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, to me, this is a total backyard oasis. We're able to host our guests here at our big dining room table. We're able to overlook our pool. As Michael mentioned, there's tons of trees, and so it's just very private. And so even though we're in the heart of Atlanta, we're in town, we really feel like we're secluded here. I'm able to go to the pool. If I wanted to skinny dip, no one would see me. And we have, such an amazing entertaining space, both up here and then downstairs. We have a fire pit with a s'more station. We have the pool lounge chairs, and a fun story is because I've known Michael since we were in high school. I came to his house one time when we were in high school and I saw his mom. I came over and she was just, passed out at a pool having her voob. And I was like, that lady is living her best life. And I was like, I want to live like that one day. And never would I think that I'd be able to live that dream. And so I'm very grateful that we're able to have such an amazing backyard that I can just escape to when the kids are at school and I just need a few minutes to myself. Just lounge, get my UV rays, and be able to have a good afternoon, honestly.
And if you'll follow me now, we'll head downstairs to the pool. So when we were looking for a house, we never thought that we didn't need a pool, but when we walked in here and saw it, we knew that we had to have this place. And something unique about this pool is that it has a full-length swimming lane that I have not used yet, but plan to as soon as the weather gets a little warmer.
Yeah, we're actually planning on heating up the pool this weekend, and so we're excited to give this swim lap a little test, but I would say I've never seen a pool shaped like this. I think it's a very unique attribute to the house. As soon as we saw it, we were like, why does the pool look like this crazy T? This is also one of the biggest pools we've seen. A lot of, when we were looking for pool guys to hire, they were like, I've never seen a pool so big. We have this main pool area here and then this really long swimming lap, and we're excited to use it all summer long. We have these lounge chairs over here and also this fire pit area. So we have 2 entertaining areas that we can have. The lounge chairs here, I wanted again to tie in the blues, the stripes, and very this traditional style. One of my favorite hotels in Miami is the Confidant, and they had striped umbrellas and pool chairs. And I'm really excited to be able to bring that kind of hotel experience life to our backyard. So these are from Ballard, and then I got a fringe umbrella. And so I think it gives it a little bit of a more elevated feel to a traditional backyard feel. And welcome to our primary bedroom. So this bedroom was a showstopper for us, and we had really loved the downstairs, and we were like, I'm really liking this house when we were touring it, and then we came upstairs and we were like, this is it. We've never been able to have a true primary suite, and we feel like we finally have this little piece of heaven that we're able to escape to every night. So the headboard, I really wanted a Serena Lily style, nautical style headboard, but a lot of them were 10,000 up. I was able to find someone to custom upholster it for me. So I found the fabric at Ballard Outlet. Again, it plays into the blues that we have going on. I got custom pillows that matches the custom window curtains that we have here, and playing in surprise, more hydrangeas. Can you tell that that's my favorite color by now? This settee was something that I really wanted to fit the space, just to have a little sitting area underneath our Samsung Frame TV. Again, I love that I'm able to change the artwork out kind of depending on what the mood I'm in. This over here is actually my workstation. So Michael can talk about this chair. I believe you had it in your childhood home, right, from your mom?
That's right. If you'll notice, the fabric matches the pillows from downstairs, and my mom had no space for this chair. We got it, and
now it's my office desk chair. So here's where I work. This again was another Facebook Marketplace find, and I have pictures of my kids to motivate me throughout the day. Bow accenting is also something that you'll notice throughout the house. I have a lot of bow accents, mainly in picture frames. I really like shabby chic style, but I don't want to overdo it. And so I think this is just kind of like a nod to shabby chic and also kind of a Versailles French style. Here, as we go and talking about more of custom framing, so this is a floral piece that I had with an amazing custom frame. Again, I love mix matching frames because I really feel like it brings character to a home. And you'll see that in our bookshelf. So another thing that we really like about the house is this room also had custom bookshelves. So it's very similar to how I styled our downstairs bookshelf. There's, the ginger jars, we have the family picture frames, and then I also have a lot of vintage pieces that I'll show you.
And 2 more dogs. I think that makes a collection.
You're right,
4
2 more
pieces.
Stafford style dogs. So I would say that I already have a collection going on. So a lot of these vintage pieces I have, had and just kind of outsourced throughout going to Goodwill, going to antique markets, and I was really excited to be able to showcase them. At our old house, we had 1 built-in bookshelf in our dining room, and being able to showcase my personality in our primary is something that I'm really excited to have throughout this bookcase. And fun fact is when I go to vintage stores, I really just open books and look for the colors, and then I go back home and I find some of the title names, and it's really fun to go back and say, oh my God, I didn't know that what this book said, because some of them have some really funny titles. These mohair chairs are, I would say, a little bit darker pieces than I would traditionally have in the rest of the house, but I really feel like it blends very well, especially I was able to get gray here and then match some gray with the sete fabric right here. These pillows are, I believe, Holly Hunt fabric. Again, another gift from my gracious mother-in-law. Thank you so much. And this is just a really nice place for us to sit. The kids can be watching TV, watching a movie in our bed, and Mike and I can just hang out here. Our side tables that we have here are, I wanted something that felt very airy, similar to kind of that linen fabric that we have. Scallop details is something that I'm a huge fan of. If you ever see scallop furniture, I'm probably going to go buy it because I love it so much. And so we have these 2 nightstands that's able to play into kind of that fun, I would say childhood-like feeling with scallops. You'll see some scallops in my daughter's room shortly. We have more bow accents that kind of match the mirror that I have going on. More hydrangea prints that I was able to actually outsource from an artist on eBay. And then heirloom photos is something that I get with my children every year, and so I'm happy to be able to really have the space to be able to frame those. And then our master bed, as I mentioned, these matching pillows match our curtains and really tie everything together. This chandelier is actually from our old house. It was in the dining room, and I was really nervous about bringing it into a primary bedroom because it is such a statement piece. I didn't know if it would fit the space or it would kind of look too avant-garde, but I really love how this chandelier fits into the space. It elevates it into a way that I think is not as normal that you would see in a primary bedroom, but one of my favorite light fixtures in the house.
Moving the chandelier was a complete ordeal. When we were uninstalling it, we found that it was hanging by a single thread on the screw. And our friend who helped us take it down was like, it's a miracle it never fell. All of these pieces are individual pieces of crystal. And so getting it from one house to the other was quite the challenge, but we were able to do it with no loss. All the pieces remained intact and got it up without a huge problem.
And then off our primary bedroom is our primary bathroom. Come and see it.
Now we'll show you around the primary bathroom.
So this room is truly a dream for us. In our old house, we had a very small primary bath. And when we walked in here, we were like, oh my goodness, I can't believe we get to live here. We learned that the house has, this room specifically has heated floors, which is a really good added bonus.
A great surprise when we were standing here barefoot and I said, my feet are warm, and then found the control for it and figured out that we actually had heated floors. Didn't know that when we bought the place.
Yes, and what we updated here was really just the wallpaper. Thankfully, the mirrors and the light fixtures were already here and we were fans of those. I mentioned the gray in our primary bedroom, and it ties into the gray that was just organically here, and so I'm excited to be able to tie those colors in. This wallpaper was, not me and Michael's biggest argument for the house, but our biggest pain point.
This was totally our biggest argument for the whole house. I was under the impression that I wanted no wallpaper in the bathroom. I wanted a very clean, tranquil, serene area, and Sophie was very adamant about the wallpaper. She said it will look great, just trust me. And finally I did, and she was right and I was wrong.
My favorite words to hear. There was a house
but the place looks really great.
Yeah, the house that, there was one house that we made an offer on before this that I was a huge fan of, and they actually had wallpaper in the bathroom. I had never thought of it, and it was a very similar chinoiserie, oriental style, very busy, and I just loved the way it looked. And so when I saw this bathroom, I was like, we have to bring that to life. And Michael loves taking his baths, and he's like, I just want a very serene and tranquil, bathroom that I can just hang out in. And to me, I was like, how's the wallpaper going to impact that? We have an amazing view of our pool outside. We have this great bathtub. And so I think it really elevates the space. And honestly, this wallpaper outside of the dining room, this is my second favorite wallpaper in the home. Another thing that I really love about this bathroom is that we have a steam shower and then this amazing bathtub I mentioned. It overlooks our bedroom. And then when you're laying in the bathtub, you can just see forest. And so it really feels like your own little tree house when you're in it. I know I mentioned earlier kind of the bow accent, so you'll see that throughout a lot of the rooms here. So found this mirror that really ties into the kind of Versailles French shabby chic style that I've been talking about. And so I was excited to find that little piece for the bathroom wall here. What do I love most about this home? Everything. Again, coming from such a small space, I realized how much of a toll it was taking on me emotionally and kind of mentally being so cramped in the space. But I very much love that the house has heart into it. You can see every corner. I truly have poured in my heart and soul with the pieces that I've picked out, the artwork that I hand selected. I really love the stories that it tells. My daughter's nursery is the dream nursery that I always wanted to give her, but I wasn't able to give her until she turned, 20 months. So I feel like I really blended everyone's personality really well, down from Michael's office, our master bedroom, my daughter's room, my son's room, the powder room when I think about guests coming in, how they're gonna feel when they come into the powder room, and down to the laundry room where, that's generally not a room that people like being in. No one really likes doing laundry and folding it. So I was able to add some really fun tiles and colors so that when I do laundry, I feel a little bit more upbeat for doing these mundane day-to-day tasks.
My favorite part of our house is the primary bedroom. We, in our last house, had a very small space with bifold closet doors.
Which wasn't fun.
Now we've got the high ceilings and a steam shower and a beautiful big closet where we can actually fit our clothes. So I had gotten rid of most of my clothes when we were living at the old place because they just didn't fit anywhere. And now I can build up my wardrobe a little bit more. Welcome to our daughter's pink princess room.
So this is our daughter Goldie's bedroom, and it is truly my dream nursery. Our daughter just turned 2 years old, and I think everything I've ever wanted in a room has vomited into this place. You will find lots of floral accents. You will find lots of bows. You will find lots of pink everywhere, checkered gingham. And so I'm really excited to show you this space. This is a set of 8 floral prints, was another Facebook Marketplace find, and one of my favorite art pieces that I have. I feel like it really complements the Colfax and flower wallpaper that we have here. And I mentioned how I love scallop detailing pieces. And so this dresser I was able to find on Facebook, surprise. And I bought these scallop edge trims from Etsy, and we were able to bring it and then repaint it. So it looks like a true vintage piece, but one of a kind that's only my daughter has. More bow pieces and some of the picture frames and her lamps that we have here. I love gingham, and so I was really excited to be able to bring in these pink checkered curtains that we have for her. One thing that I really feel like ties this room together is how I was able to paint the trim with the floral wallpaper. I had never thought about painting trim, and I had seen it on Instagram and Pinterest from other designers. I really feel like that elevates the space and ties everything together. And so I spent a long time figuring out what color I wanted it to be, and I'm really happy with how this turquoise mint plays off the colors in the room. Here's her crib. We have more bird art that I love from Cherish. So I'm really excited to share this chair that I found. I actually found it at Goodwill a few weeks ago. It was a very dark brown color. I saw it and I just really loved this kind of whimsical design that it had. And so I painted the chair, and then you'll see some floral detailing here. And I just really felt like it felt like her room. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I need this for Goldie's room. And then this bed, I'm sure moms can relate. Sometimes my daughter doesn't sleep well. And also this is kind of our interim guest bedroom. We have this queen bed here. This is an amazing spindle bed from Beautiful Bed Company that we had in our old guest room. I was able to get matching pillows with the wallpaper, and then this great linen comforter from Laura Park Designs. You'll see more of that scallop detail that plays on her dresser. And then these 2 really great ballerina pieces. I want my daughter to be a ballerina. I want her to have fun with dance, and I painted those for her. And so I thought above the bed was the perfect place for that. And then her bathroom is truly a little girl's dream. You'll be able to see some bow detailing, more gingham, the shower curtain matches the curtains that we have. and then some artwork that I recently just framed for her. This bow mirror went viral on TikTok, and I was very excited when I had a friend find it, probably 30 minutes outside of Atlanta, but I was like, I need this for Goldie's bathroom. And so this again was a very simple update. Painted the trim pink, updated the wallpaper, and then everything else was original to the home, but was able to make it like a fresh, new, beautiful space for within a very good budget, and it's very unique to her. And one fun fact is our cleaners always bejewel the toilet paper, and they always match the color of the jewels to what's going on in the room, and so she has these fun little floral jewels with her toilet paper. Yeah, that's it.
Let's check out our 4-year-old son's room.
So this was our son's big boy room. So when we moved to the house, we transitioned him from a crib into a bed. I went back and forth between twin beds or a queen bed, but ultimately figured we love to entertain. He has a lot of friends. I know he'll sleep over, and one of his favorite pastime activities is just jumping from one to the other. This room is very traditional in the sense of the colors that we have. I mentioned that I have the horse downstairs and I have the horse prints all here to be able to play into that kind of storytelling and nostalgia of the horses. These were all vintage prints that I found, more horse statues, again, from vintage shopping. This was an antique dresser that we just had repainted. And here he just started baseball for the first time. So here's his fun little pick. And we have this blue chair that I was able to source with an old horse needlepoint. This is where we read all of his books at night. I mentioned that I love gingham. I have checkered prints in Goldie's room, and so I custom upholstered these headboards from Rail and Style and had matching pillows done. One thing is, if you can afford it, is I love being able to tie in the same fabric with pillows and curtains or a bed. I really feel like it elevates the space. And then I matched it with these cool Etsy baseball prints because our son is a huge baseball fan above his room. And then we'll walk into his bathroom. This is also a very traditional bathroom. I have the checkered print again, surprise, that matches what's going on in the outside. And then I found this stripe wallpaper from Home Depot of all places that was, I think, only $11 per roll. But I love how timeless this looks. I really wanted to create a room, even though he's 4, that he can grow up and be proud of when he's a teenager and not want to change it out. So for this, we just painted the cabinets blue. This blue actually matches the same blue that our front doors, and that's also in our laundry room. So you'll see a ton of the same blue colors throughout the home because I just really love that color, and be able to paint the mirror here. So this is a very easy renovation project, but really elevates the space with just a couple of cool accent pieces like this vintage horse art, a fun shower curtain, and then a splash of color with the paint. Home means to me really just a place that we can come down and be ourselves. So when we bought this house, we actually wrote the owners a letter, which I know some people don't like doing, but we wrote them a letter, and after we submitted our offer, and we said, this house feels like us. It is the place that we want to have our happy moments and our low moments. So they also had 2 kids, our previous owners of the home, and we said, down from the diaper changes to their first steps and the big milestones, we see ourselves here. And for that, that's what I think of what a home is. It's what you're building all the memories on and how you're growing as individuals and as people.
For me, home is a feeling. It's where your loved ones are. It's the place where you feel safe and secure. It's where the beautiful little moments happen. And home can be anywhere. This house really has, in the short time we've lived here, immediately felt like home because we've had so many beautiful moments from the very beginning.
Homeworthy, it was so great having you here in Atlanta.
But now you have to go.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.